Chapter 149. The second young master of the G clan, not bad. In the memories of his previous life, he did not remember the name of this second young master of the G clan. But first of all, the 3 days he spent here was too short, and second of all, he couldn't remember everyone's faces. But for someone to be mentioned by Jiu Duxing, he should not be weak. Why are you still not bowing to your boss? Jiu Duxing saw that Ji Mo was still standing there carelessly and could not help but get angry. He kicked his butt. Ah! Ji Mo angrily rubbed his butt and unwillingly bowed. Boss. Not bad. Since you are here, you are a good brother. Chu Yang smiled and nodded. This is Luo Ku Di, the second young master of the Luo clan. His nickname is Little Wolf. He looks lonely, but it is all an act. His biggest hobby is to show off. Jiu Duxing pointed at a young man. This young man had a face that kept people 1,000 miles away, but his eyes were very lively. It could be seen that this guy was not as arrogant as he looked. Well, I have heard a lot about you. Chu Yang smiled and nodded. Boss. Luo Ku Di lowered his head and said, I was forced to come by Jiu Duxing. Jiu Duxing, this bastard, has no brotherhood. I hope boss can help me. He actually started to complain as soon as they met. Well, you can't beat him? Chu Yang asked. I can't beat him. Luo Ku Di was very straightforward. If I could beat him, I would have hung this bastard up and smacked his butt. Well, that's good. You can't beat him, so being forced by him is very normal. Chu Yang smiled and said. His words stunned all the second-generation heirs. Especially Luo Ku Di, his eyes almost popped out. Damn, this boss also has a lot of character. Do you want to force him back? Chu Yang tempted. Of course. Luo Ku Di puffed out his chest, even in my dreams. He suddenly sighed and his chest collapsed. Unfortunately, it is too difficult. Follow me well and I will let you have this opportunity. Chu Yang winked. Thank you, boss. As long as I can beat Jiu Duxing just once, even if you want me to be an ox or a horse, I will do it. Luo Ku Di was really not polite. Humph, I will give you 3 generations of time, Jiu Duxing said disdainfully. Then, he introduced the third person. This is Dong Wushong. He is the second duke of the Dong clan. His clan is the only clan in the 3 heavens that uses sabers. This Dong Wushong, at the age of 18, was as black as a piece of iron. On his back was a scabbard as black as ink. When he looked up, Chu Yang felt as if 2 sabers were slashing towards his eyes. Chu Yang was pleasantly surprised. Dong Wushong was a name that Chu Yang was very familiar with. In his previous life, Dong Wushong was one of the 12 influential figures in the 3 heavens. The black saber of the black saber Qian Hao Xiegong, the guardian of the Dong clan, was this young master in front of them. After Dong Wushong had made a name for himself, he had gone through hundreds of battles, both big and small. He had never been defeated, nor had he been injured. This also confirmed his strength. Dong Wushong, this name. However, the current Dong Wushong clearly hadn't matured yet. Black Saber clan? Chu Yang's eyes were as clear as water as he asked. Yes, it is the Black Saber clan. Dong Wushong's eyes showed surprise. It seemed that he was surprised that someone from the lower 3 heavens would know the name of the Black Saber clan. Because of their weapons, everyone in the Dong clan used an ink-black saber, so they were also called the Black Saber clan. Very good. Chu Yang really didn't think that of the 12 influential figures in the future, there would be 2 in front of him, and they were his own brothers. This one is called Jiu Tong. This little one came to me on his own. I didn't go to him. Jiu Duxing pointed at a skinny young man in black. We know each other. I once helped him, but this little one always remembers and wants to repay me. It's very annoying. The moment I mentioned that I was recruiting, he came without a second thought. Miao Bu Tong. Chu Yang's eyebrows jumped. Today's surprises came one after another. This Miao Bu Tong was going to be a lone bandit in the 3 heavens. It was rumored that other than the lone traveler Jiu Duxing, he didn't sell to anyone. He was a strange talent. No one knew his master's background, and no one knew where he came from. He had always been a lone wolf. But as long as Jiu Duxing was in trouble, he would be the first to stand by Jiyu Duxing's side. Gang Biyu Tong was obviously a man of few words. He only grinned at Chu Yang, nodded, and bowed. He was also the only one who didn't show any resistance to Chu Yang. Okay, let me formally introduce you. This is our boss, Chu Yang. Jiyu Duxing's cold gaze flashed across the faces of the four. Remember, whoever dares to be disrespectful to boss is disrespectful to me. Jiyu Duxing, brothers are brothers. Heavenly Armament Pavilion's rules are Heavenly Armament Pavilion's rules. Whoever doesn't abide by them, don't blame me for not showing mercy. Boss Jiyu, don't worry. As long as you say this, whoever doesn't listen, I guarantee that they won't even have pants to wear in the morning. Ji Biyu Tong cracked a smile. The other three snorted weakly. During the 3 days, none of them were willing to submit to anyone. They fought with each other non-stop, and many times they fought until their heads bled. They didn't expect Jiyu Duxing to gather all of them together. Everyone felt a sense of absurdity in their hearts. Even Dong Wu Shong's Dong clan and Luo Kudi's clan were specially instructed to deal with them. They were the ones who had to be suppressed in this training, and the Ji clan was also the target of the Dong clan and Luo clan. The Luo clan was also the target of the Dong clan and Ji clan. How could they deal with this relationship? Coming here, there are no clans, only brothers. Chu Yang saw through their worries with a glance. He thought that Jiyu Duxing was really talented. He said that he wouldn't recruit these second-generation ancestors, but the ones he recruited were second-generation ancestors. None of these people were easy to deal with. As far as I know, when the young people of your clans came out for training, they all brought along king-level bodyguards. Why don't you guys have any? Chu Yang asked. This sentence was like poking a hornet's nest. The faces of the 3 second-generation ancestors were filled with indignation. What king-level bodyguards? With this young master's strength, why would I need bodyguards? Jimo said angrily. That's right, when this young master goes out, I never bring along bodyguard. Luo Kudi spat. What is a bodyguard? This young master has never used one before. Dong Wu Shong rolled his eyes. All of you, shut up. Is this the attitude you should have when talking to your boss? Jiyu Duxing opened his eyes and exposed this mystery. They don't have the qualifications to bring along bodyguards. Although they climbed to the position of second young master with their own strength, in their respective clans, they are all concubines' children. Oh. Chu Yang let out a meaningful sigh. The 3 people's faces and ears turned red. What is a concubine's child? Miao Biyu Tong's words caused the 3 people to grimace at the same time. Immediately after, the 3 of them pounced on Miao Biyu Tong without any prior agreement. They pressed him to the ground and beat him fiercely. The 3 of them had long disliked Miao Biyu Tong. This guy had been helping Jiyu Duxing to bully them along the way. Everyone was angry but didn't dare to say anything. However, once they made a move, they would be attacked by a group of people. No one dared to act rashly. At this moment, this small sentence actually provoked the 3 people's common pain. The 3 of them took advantage of this rare opportunity to work together against a common enemy for the first time. After the beating, Jimo rolled his eyes and said, "A concubine's child is a concubine's child. Motherfucker, a concubine's child is that old bastard's concubine's child. The concubine is my mother, do you understand? You hate him?" Chu Yang rubbed his chin. He felt that these people's thoughts were very strange. Hate? I don't hate him. Jimo sighed desolately. Towards him, I really can't bring myself to hate him. The children of the Ji clan, our generation is defined by the word no. Look at the lousy name he gave me, Jimo. Motherfucker, does he want me to be lonely? But I have a lot of old friends. These brothers don't have any hope of making a name for themselves in the clan because of their bloodline. Therefore, I've gathered them together. I hope that they can follow Big Brother and make a name for themselves. Jiyu Duxing said in a deep voice. As long as you can defeat the eldest young master, you can replace him. Chu Yang was very puzzled. He remembered that Mo Cheng Yu had said that the Mo clan was like this. That is the direct bloodline. Jiyu Duxing explained, it does not include the concubine's child. The highest position for a concubine's child is the second duke. There is no hope for them to advance any further. Even if the Grand Duke dies, he will choose a new one from the direct bloodline. There is absolutely no chance for a concubine's child. Chu Yang said, "Oh." He really wanted to ask, "Then how did you, Jiyu Duxing, become the clan master of the Jiyu clan in your previous life? Could it be that you killed both of them?" "Okay, let's not talk too much, Chu Yang." Dong Wushong said coldly, "We can join Heavenly Armament Pavilion. Of course, this is fine. However, the ranking needs to be properly discussed." This guy actually called out Chu Yang's full name. This was extremely disrespectful. Luo Kudi and Ji Mo's eyes lit up at the same time. It was obvious that these three had discussed this beforehand. "What did you say?" Jiyu Duxing flew into a rage. He felt extremely humiliated. His coffin-like face immediately turned red. His eyes flashed with an ominous light. His hand was already on the hilt of his sword. Chapter 150. That's right. No matter if it's age or cultivation, it's not up to him to decide. Jimo chuckled. Jiyu Duxing 1. I, Jimo, am not someone who is afraid of death. Do you really think that I'm afraid of you? The reason why I'm here is to see this person. If he can convince me and lead us into the upper three heavens, I, Jimo, will recognize him as my boss without hesitation. But if he can't, even if you chop off my head, don't expect me to recognize him. That's right, that's what we mean. He's the youngest in terms of age and martial arts. What right does he have to be our boss? Luo Kudi also clamored. Good. Very good. Since you're so heartless, don't blame me for being heartless. Jiyu Duxing's eyes shone brighter and brighter. His face was already green with anger. With a clang, the black dragon sword was unsheathed like a furious dragon and was about to stab over. Wait! Chu Yang hurriedly shouted. These people were all talents. If Jiyu Duxing fell out with them now, it would be extremely bad. Besides, as the boss, if he didn't show some ability, wouldn't others look down on him? None of these people were people who were willing to be inferior to others. Speaking of what right does he have, I feel that it's necessary to say it. Chu Yang said indifferently, what right does he have? I'm also asking myself. I'm the youngest, but why should I be the boss? Every single one of you has a much more prominent family background than I do. Everyone's martial arts is also above mine, but here, you can only be below me. Why? Chu Yang looked at them with a smile. My advantage is very simple. Because I'm stronger than you. The four of them sneered at the same time. I, Chu Yang, come from a humble background. I'm also an abandoned child. I was raised by a master since childhood. In this aspect, I'm a little stronger than you. Chu Yang raised a finger and said, I have a master who loves me dearly. In my heart, he is my father. My master spared no effort for me. You don't have this. Although you grew up in a big family, although your martial arts are better than mine, but first, you don't. Secondly, I have a good brother. My junior apprentice brother is also my brother, but he is not here now. The only one here is Jiyu Duxing. Chu Yang smiled and said, You may be wondering why Jiyu Duxing listens to me. This point was also the strangest thing about the four of them, or rather, they were here because of this point. Because we treat each other as brothers. Jiyu Duxing was willing to give up everything for me, and I can do the same for my brothers. I can put my life in Jiyu Duxing's hands, and Jiyu Duxing can do the same. Chu Yang proudly looked at the four people in front of him. Do you have this kind of pride? Do you have such a brother? The three were speechless. If they did, they wouldn't have taken this opportunity to roam the world alone. Among the youths of the Jianghu, who didn't yearn for the brotherly feelings of being willing to risk their lives for each other? That was what the iron and blood Jianghu should have. However, the environment they grew up in was filled with scheming and scheming. They learned from a young age to not trust anyone. They didn't dare to have brothers. This was because they were afraid of being betrayed. Their awkward position in their families meant that they didn't dare to have any friends in their own families. Brothers. These two words were the desire of all hot-blooded youths in Jianghu, but it was also the sorrow of the younger brothers in big families. Thirdly, I came from a humble background, and my background couldn't be any lower. However, from a secular point of view, I have already achieved success and fame. Chu Yang looked at the three youths in front of him indifferently. Firstly, in Iron Cloud, I already have a high position and power. One word can kill countless people, and one move can shake a city. One and all of this was achieved by me in 3 months. If it were you, would you be able to do it? Chu Yang looked at them coldly. The three of them were sweating profusely. You said you have a high position and power in Iron Cloud, then who are you? Luo Kudi asked in a low voice. Who am I? Chu Yang smiled and said indifferently, my surname is Chu, I am King of Hell Chu. King of Hell Chu. The three of them turned pale with fright. Even though they were from upper three heavens, King of Hell Chu had shaken the world. Since they came to lower three heavens to gain experience, how could they not know King of Hell Chu's name? He miraculously entered Bu Tian Pavilion and massacred Iron Cloud Citadel. With his meager strength, he was able to fight against Diwu Qing Ru's Golden Horse Riders Department without falling behind. King of Hell Chu's legendary deeds were already familiar to them. However, the three of them didn't expect that the legendary King of Hell Chu was actually this smiling youth in front of them. To be able to achieve such a feat in just 3 months, King of Hell Chu was worthy of everyone's admiration. These things were easy to say, but they were difficult to do. Ji Mo and the others were very clear that they couldn't do it. Diwu, my martial power was only 3rd grade martial disciple a year ago, but now, what do you think my cultivation is? Chu Yang snorted. He circulated his energy and a green mist appeared on his palm. Martial disciple. This time, 5 people exclaimed at the same time. Even Jiu Du Xing's eyes widened. Sorry, peak 4th grade martial disciple. Chu Yang retracted the green gas and said with a smile, of course, it's only a leap of 21 grades in 1 year. I also know that this is nothing to brag about. The 5 of them wiped their cold sweat at the same time. 21 grades in 1 year. Still not something to brag about. They didn't know that this was already Chu Yang being modest. He only increased 1 grade in half a year. When Jiu Du Xing went out to find you, he was gone for a month and a day. When he went out, I was a martial disciple. Chu Yang smiled faintly and said, if your cultivation speed is faster than mine, then I will admit defeat. The 4 of them turned to look at Jiu Du Xing at the same time. They only saw Jiu Du Xing staring at Chu Yang with wide eyes as if he had seen a ghost. He muttered, How is this possible? How is this possible? The 4 of them were shocked at the same time. They all knew Jiu Du Xing's temper. He disdained to lie. He would rather immediately draw his sword and fight than collude with Chu Yang to deceive them. Just now, he had already done something evil. Besides, his current demeanor couldn't be faked. Could there really be such a monster, to cross 21 grades in 1 year? No, to cross 8 grades in 1 month. This is too monstrous, right? 5th, I am stronger than you. Because I have ambition, I have lofty aspirations. I said before that our heavenly armament pavilion will charge into the upper 3 heavens, and we will charge into the upper 3 heavens. Not only will we go up, but we will also have the final say in the upper 3 heavens. Chu Yang looked arrogantly at the few youths in front of him. Can you do it? Have you thought about it? You only want to climb up, but you don't think about what to do after you climb up. What to do? The 4 of them were ashamed. You only think about how the clan is unsatisfactory, so you came out to relax. You only think that even if the clan is unfair to you, even if you are depressed, you don't dare to resist. You only think about how to go back after relaxing, and continue on the path that the clan has arranged for you. You are a group of cowards. You don't dare to fight for yourself. You don't dare to do anything. You can only mess around in the upper 3 heavens to earn yourself the name of a debauchee. You can tarnish your reputation, and then let the so-called Grand Duke rest assured and not deal with you, so that you can continue to live. Chu Yang sneered and said, anyone has the right to ask me why, but you don't. Because even if our clan is not as good as yours, and our martial arts are not as good as yours, we relied on ourselves. We relied on ourselves, and fought with our bare hands. Do you know, there is a group of remnant soldiers living in the slums on the mountain beside the heavenly armament pavilion. You can't even compare to them, because they fought with their own lives on the battlefield, and they can still be satisfied with poverty. You can't. Chu Yang looked at the three of them with eyes as cold as a knife. He smiled coldly. You want me to call you big brothers? Do you dare to agree? Do you dare? Second Duke, all of you are Second Duke? Chu Yang laughed. You are not fit to be men. You have the right to ask me why. The three of them were red in the face, and their eyes were about to spit fire. Chu Yang, you can look down on us, but you don't have the right to insult us. Don't have the right. I don't have the right. Chu Yang sneered. What I have done, which one of you can do, even one? If you want to stay and prove that you are not useless, then stay. I will prove myself to you, and I will fight with you for a chance to laugh proudly in Jianghu. Chu Yang paused and said, if you don't want to, you can leave. I don't want Second Dukes, I don't want big brothers. Because you are willing to be Second Dukes, you don't deserve to be big brothers. Fuck, I will stay. Jimo's neck was thick. However, if there is a day when I think I am stronger than you, I will still challenge you. Yes, that's right, this young master stayed behind to defeat you. Defeat Jiu Duxing. Luo Kudi's face was red. Don't think that you have convinced me. I stayed to see what makes you a big brother, and what makes you say that you can lead us into the upper three heavens. Dongwu Shong's eyes were as sharp as a knife. I wanted to stay. Boss Jiu is here. Even if you chase me away, I will not leave. Shu Biu Tong laughed. Only he was the most relaxed. Jiu Duxing let out a sigh of relief. He thought that Chu Yang really had a trick up his sleeve. He actually scolded these guys to stay. Stay? Is it so easy to stay? Chu Yang sneered. What kind of place do you think Heavenly Armament Pavilion is? You think you can stay just because you want to? Just because of the three of you? Second Dukes. Chu Yang emphasized the word Second Dukes, full of sarcasm. The three immediately became angry. Are you looking down on us? If you want me to look down on you, you must first understand, how can I look down on you? Chu Yang sneered. With your current cultivation? I am a martial great master. Jimo shouted as if he wanted to vomit blood. Same as Jiu Duxing, a martial great master. Sorry, I am now 7th grade, thank you. Jiu Duxing glanced at him. Kunmo's face was full of shock. 7th grade, you broke through? Yes, the day before I went to find you. Jiu Duxing crossed his arms. You are finished, Jimo. Chapter 151. What I want is the heart of a strong person, Chu Yang said deeply, not cultivation level. As long as a martial disciple has the heart of a strong person, he can rise step by step until he reaches the peak. However, if a martial great master doesn't have the heart of a strong person, he is at most a piece of meat with great power. The heart of a strong person. The three of them seemed to have understood something. Also, if you want to stay here, as long as you acknowledge me as your boss, you have to listen to me. Chu Yang said sarcastically, in my heavenly army, I don't need your deep-rooted self-esteem of two dukes. No matter what, I'm staying. Even if I have to insist, I'll insist. Jimo sat at the entrance of the heavenly army and acted shamelessly. Are you willing to listen? Chu Yang frowned without worry. Of course. The three of them said in unison. At this moment, the three of them had the same feeling. If they were chased out, it would be really embarrassing. All right, I'll do it reluctantly. I'll take it as doing a good deed and taking you in. Chu Yang said very reluctantly, however, I'll say the ugly words first. If anyone can't meet my requirements, then don't be so thick-skinned when I tell them to get lost. I hate people like that. Of course. If they can't meet the requirements, who would be so thick-skinned to stay here? The four of them looked at each other at the same time with an expression that said, you'll be the first to be eliminated in the future. An invisible competition had already begun between them. Very well, from now on, I'll give the three of you a chance to determine the winner. Chu Yang said slowly, the clans in the three heavens are now arranging their seats. Of course, Such a difficult task is not up to you. Chu Yang sprinkled salt on the wound again. He narrowed his eyes and looked at the three of them who were in so much pain that the muscles on their faces were twitching. He paused and said, "But here, the first elimination round is a battle between the three of you. If it's a battle between the three of you, it's a battle between the three of you." The three of them puffed out their chests at the same time, their eyes burning. "Within a month, everyone will raise 1 cultivation level. Geoduxing is included." Chu Yang said casually, "After a month, those who can't raise their cultivation level will be automatically eliminated and leave. What kind of competition is this? Don't tell me you don't care about the level of your power at all." Luo Kedi jumped up. "This is not fair. You can leave if you don't accept it. You can also leave if you admit defeat." Chu Yang sneered, "Fair trial? You actually want fairness from me? Let me tell you, there is no such thing as fairness in this world. I don't care how you train. This place is big enough. Even if you train yourselves to death, that's your problem. I'll say the same thing. You don't deserve to be my brother if you can't improve," Chu Yang slowly said. "What about you?" Jimo called out, "Are we the only ones practicing? Are you here to watch the show?" "Of course, there's also me. I am now a 4th grade martial warrior. Within this month, I will break through to the martial master realm. I'll abdicate if I can't do it." Chu Yang snorted and said, "How about that?" The four of them were speechless. Breaking through from a 4th grade martial warrior to a martial master in a month. "Do you think you're a god? Let's bet." The four of them gritted their teeth. If he didn't gamble with such conditions, he would really be a fool. The three of them rubbed their fists and prepared to fight for the position of the boss in a month. Only Jiu-Du-Xing looked at the three of them with pity. "These three fools. I've seen him advance by 3 ranks within 4 hours in a single morning. Do you really think it's difficult to raise 3 grades in a month?" It wouldn't be strange if he directly broke through to the martial great master realm. From the time Jimo and the others started to rebel to Chu Yang keeping them here, the time was very short. Chu Yang's method was also very simple. In fact, Chu Yang didn't even play any tricks. Because the methods he used were very clear. It was obvious at a glance that Chu Yang's intention was to keep them here. This wasn't a scheme, but an open one. However, it was these schemes that could be seen through at a glance that made Jimo, Luo Kedi, and Luo Kedi willingly stay behind. They were even willing to pay a certain price to stay. Jiu-Du-Xing only understood this point the next day. Chu Yang's method was very simple. Provoke them, then use the competitive spirit of the young people, combine it with reality and their clans, and then set a trap. If it was just one person, they might have left long ago. No matter what Chu Yang said, they wouldn't recognize him as their boss. But there were 3 people here, and they were from different clans. The situation was different. These people were competitors. How could they be willing to show weakness in front of each other? They could die, but they definitely couldn't be defeated by the other party. Therefore, Chu Yang achieved his goal very easily. Moreover, he also established his own authority. He made these second young masters of the super clans stay behind. Moreover, he also gave them a good scolding. In Jiu-Du-Xing's eyes, this was originally an unbelievable thing. When the 3 of them started to rebel, Jiu-Du-Xing knew that this matter was irreversible. He didn't expect it to be resolved so easily. "Good. Since that's the case, I'll accept my loss," Chu Yang said with a smile. "In order to increase everyone's enthusiasm, the Heavenly Army will adopt a competition system in the future. 1 month later, those who don't advance will automatically leave. Yes, and those who stay, the one who advances slowly will have to wash everyone's underwear for a month. Yes, including underwear and socks. If one of them isn't clean, you'll be punished for another month." Everyone looked at each other again. Wasn't this too cruel? After passing the test, they still had to wash other people's underwear and socks. "Jimo, do you want Jiu-Du-Xing to wash your socks?" Chu Yang asked with a smile. Jimo's eyes lit up instantly. Thinking of Jiu-Du-Xing washing his socks, he couldn't help but laugh. He said confidently, "I'll definitely make him wash my underwear every day. Yes, Dong Wu Shong, Are you willing to let Luo Ku Di wash your underwear? Chu Yang continued to sow discord. Dong Wu Shong looked at this cunning guy with hatred and said angrily, I want you to wash my underwear. I won't take a shower and change my underwear for a month. I'll stink you to death. No problem, as long as you can beat me. Chu Yang snorted. Everyone, please take note. The first month is only a trial. There will be irregular missions. Chu Yang smiled and said, I hope everyone can withstand the test. Du Xing, take out the rewards I've prepared and show them to everyone. Chu Yang reminded, our divine weapons. Just take one. Jiyu Du Xing understood. He walked into his secret chamber and took out a sword. He threw it in front of the 4 people and said, Here, take a look. After a while, the 4 people went crazy. Asterisk asterisk. There's actually such a divine weapon in the world. Jimo's voice rang out. He was a sword user. When he saw this sword, his eyes turned red. This is mine. Get lost. The other 3 people scolded him without holding back. You think you're worthy? Clap, clap. Chu Yang clapped his hands and attracted the 4 people's attention. We still have a lot of such divine weapons. Yes, we also have sabers. Chu Yang winked at Dong Wu Shong. Dong Wu Shong immediately felt his blood boil. There was such a saber. But, as I said, this is a reward. Chu Yang said, only if you really integrate into the heavenly weapon and do something that everyone is convinced of can you get such a reward. This is purely a temptation. You can ignore it, Chu Yang said. Who could resist such a temptation? Ignore. Fuck, I'm not blind. After the 4 of them looked at the sword, they all had the same feeling. Compared to this sword, their current weapons were trash. Yes, Dong Wu Shong, I heard that the sharpness of the dark saber has always been very famous. Let's try it. Luo Ku Di took out the sword and challenged. Get lost. Why don't you use your own sword? Dong Wu Shong looked depressed. Although his saber was not an ordinary weapon, if it clashed with this sword, he was afraid that it would be chipped. This is my sword. Luo Ku Di looked at this sword as if he was looking at his lover. His face was full of admiration. Jiyu Du Xing snatched the sword and snorted. Yours. You can talk after you beat them. As he spoke, he took the sword and walked back. Looking at Jiyu Du Xing's back, Luo Ku Di, Jimo, and Miao Biu Tong's muscles twitched. They felt the pain of losing their hearts. There are plenty of rooms here. Each of you can find a room to stay in. I'm very busy. I won't accompany you. Chu Yang said a few words to Jiyu Du Xing and walked out. The sun was already high up in the sky, and he still wanted to go to Biu Tian to see what was going on. These few people were able to stay for the time being. Yes, as long as you stay, I can make you stay forever. Arriving at Bai Tian, the Saber King was already waiting. These past few days, he came almost every day to urge them. It was not that Chu Yang did not try hard, it was not that Biu Tian did not try hard, it was just that they could not find that person. The Saber King could not do anything about this. He clearly knew that the person was seriously injured and could not have gone far. He might even have died in the city, but he could not find him. This was very depressing. Because of this, King of Hell Chu became angry more than once. The Saber King also saw this. Chu Yang did try his best. But Yin Wu Fa seemed to have evaporated from Iron Cloud Citadel. After a long time of not finding him, Chu Yang's heart became clearer and clearer. It seems that the king-level master in this citadel has many subordinates. Chu Yang solemnly looked at the Saber King. Senior, this is not right. I suddenly feel that the direction of our search is wrong. Wrong. The Saber King stroked his beard and muttered. He had also thought about this. After a long time of not being able to find him, there must be a huge network hiding him. But the Mo clan had only come down 1 or 2 months ago. How could they have so many networks? Could it be that the Mo clan already knew that they would be searched in Iron Cloud Citadel? This was clearly impossible. Chapter 152. Not the Mo clan? The Saber King frowned and muttered, then who could it be? Our Hei Mo clan has not offended anyone else, we have not had time to deal with the other targets. Yes, if it is not a clan from lower heavens, Where would such a powerful king-level master come from? Chu Yang was also muttering to himself, sighing and groaning. His eyes were filled with deep thoughts, and he was extremely conflicted. Yes, if it is not from lower heavens, where would a king-level master come from? The Saber King unconsciously followed Chu Yang's train of thought. After thinking for a long time, he suddenly slapped his thigh. Could it be? Who is it? Chu Yang's spirit was lifted and he hurriedly asked. Could it be Golden Horse Rider's department? The Saber King's eyes flashed with wisdom. How about? Chu Yang hesitantly said, Sir, I really want to say Golden Horse Rider's department, because that would provoke a dispute between the two of you. That would be very beneficial to our Iron Cloud. But, it seems like Golden Horse Rider's department has no conflict with you. This guess is too far-fetched. This is not it, and that is not it. In lower three heavens, could it be that there are many king-level masters? The Saber King was very pleased with Chu Yang's honesty, but he refuted, even if it is lower heavens, how many king-level masters are there? But if it is Golden Horse Rider's department, what is the reason? Chu Yang frowned and tried to explain. Golden Horse Rider's department is already busy dealing with Iron Cloud. Why would they want to create a strong enemy like you at this time? Dealing with Iron Cloud? The Saber King pondered. The matter of you dealing with the Mo clan is not a secret, right? Chu Yang probed and hesitated. What do you think? The Saber King asked. Before dealing with the Mo clan, perhaps it was a secret, but now it is definitely not a secret. Ah, that is to say, with Diwu Qing Ru's powerful intelligence network, he should have already known about you dealing with the Mo clan. Chu Yang pondered. Perhaps, it is like this. Ah, let me think, what do you want to say? Just say it. The Saber King also felt as if he had grasped something, but he couldn't figure it out. Hearing Chu Yang's hesitation, he couldn't help but become impatient and said, Golden Horse Rider's department is your enemy. Why are you defending them? I'm thinking, if it is Golden Horse Rider's department. I'm afraid there is only one reason to open the bottle. Chu Yang's eyebrows almost formed a straight line. You see, you are now in Iron Cloud Citadel, right? Other than staying in Iron Cloud Citadel, you don't live anywhere else, right? If I were Diwu Qing Ru, I would think, why would Heimo's people stay in Iron Cloud Citadel? Why don't you stay in Great Jiao for a long time? Chu Yang seemed to have grasped the main point. The more he spoke, the more fluent he became. The Saber King listened attentively and nodded. Then I would think. Could it be that the Heimo clan and Iron Cloud had reached some kind of agreement? Chu Yang's finger gently tapped on the table. That's right. The Heimo Saber King's expression became serious as he sat up straight. If the Heimo clan really helped Iron Cloud, then it would be a big problem. Chu Yang said, and with Diwu Qing Ru's personality, he likes to drag out the danger until it is too late. And at this time, there is a heaven-sent opportunity. Chu Yang thought it through and suddenly clapped his hands. What heaven-sent opportunity? The Saber King's breathing became heavy. Finally, we are about to reach the crux of the matter. The truth is about to be revealed. As he thought about this, he suddenly realized and slapped his thigh. The grudge with the Mo clan? Yes, please continue. Chu Yang gave him a thumbs up. If Diwu Qing Ru thinks this way, then he will certainly attack without exposing his identity. Regardless of whether he succeeds or not, our biggest target of suspicion and hatred can only be the Mo clan. The Saber King's eyes were now filled with something called wisdom. Correct. Chu Yang looked at the Saber King as if he was looking at a deity. Senior, you should really be in the officialdom. With Senior's divine foresight, this kind of meticulous planning, this kind of spinning cocoon in the heavy fog, the Saber King stroked his beard and said, actually, this is nothing. The main thing is that the onlooker sees more clearly. Yes, Senior, you are right. Chu Yang kept on flattering him. Then, he suddenly slapped himself in annoyance. I'm ashamed. Actually, I'm just a bystander. Senior, you're the one who's involved. I'm really ashamed to death, haha. The Saber King kindly smiled and confidently said, however, this kind of scheming is truly amazing. A prime minister of lower three heavens actually knew and dared to take advantage of the conflict between us and the Mo clan. Amazing, amazing. Huh. Chu Yang's eyes were full of confusion. He carefully said, Senior, you mean? You see. The Saber King patiently explained. He had never been so patient before. Diwu Qingru attacked us, so we can only suspect the Mo clan. In any case, we are already mortal enemies with the Mo clan, right? Yes. Chu Yang's eyes were pure. So no matter what, as long as we can't find the culprit, we will fight the Mo clan. The Saber King said, this way, Diwu Qingru and his people can hide forever. Moreover, we would have prioritized dealing with the Mo clan if we were truly Iron Cloud's right-hand man. The Saber King said wisely, Diwu Qingru really understands us. He knows that even if we help you, it is only a temporary measure. Once something happens, we will still prioritize our own matters. This person's mind is truly worthy of being called the wisest person. I can't believe you've even considered this. Senior, I have a question. Chu Yang was like a humble and studious student. Speak. The Saber King was in an extremely good mood. Although this matter is flawless, it is still risky. If any expert is caught, or dies on the spot, or is exposed, and is caught by us and recognized by us, wouldn't the truth be revealed? In that case, Diwu Qingru would have one more powerful opponent. Chu Yang asked with suspicion. From my understanding of Diwu Qingru's character, he wants to be safe. He shouldn't do such a risky thing. Yes, this is indeed a problem. The Saber King frowned. Idiot, you can't think of such a reason? Chu Yang cursed in his heart. He looked up and muttered to himself, could it be that Diwu Qingru has a way to get away with this? But, what method should it be? He should know that even if he was not exposed, his people would come in a few days. With the three sides facing each other, this matter would be exposed. This is really strange. You are an idiot. You can't even think of such a simple matter. The speaker and the listener were both interested. The Saber King was immediately reminded by Chu Yang's muttering, this matter is very simple. I would like to hear the details. Chu Yang looked at the Saber King in confusion. The Saber King said with a sense of accomplishment, this will depend on those people. If this bastard is exposed, then if I am not wrong, those people will definitely come to find us to explain this misunderstanding and give us some compensation. Chimpage. When he said the word misunderstanding, the Saber King coldly snorted twice and let out a bone-chilling sneer. Chu Yang looked at the Saber King with a flabbergasted expression and said, not necessarily. Such deep hatred, how can it be called a misunderstanding? Unless Diwu Qingru has a miraculous medicine that can steal the fortune of heaven and earth and bring the dead back to life. But such a miraculous medicine is hard to find even in upper three heavens. Diwu Qingru may not have it, right? If Diwu Qingru has such a medicine, I would not be surprised at all. The Saber King looked at Chu Yang in disdain. You're the Prime Minister of Great Zhao. Don't you have any life-saving medicine? What a joke. Hiss, if that's the case, then Diwu Qingru's scheming is truly amazing. Chu Yang sucked in a breath of cold air. Then, he shook his head and sighed in shame, I'm not as good as him. I'm not as good as him, no. Senior, even if he came to explain, he may not be able to accept it. Plus, that person is not exposed yet, why would he come to explain the misunderstanding? Chu Yang took a deep breath and asked again. You are an idiot. The Saber King looked at him resentfully and said, just think about it. If Diwu Qingru sent someone to clear up the misunderstanding and give the Sword King a cure, how much sincerity would that show? With this matter as a precedent, what reason would we have to oppose Diwu Qingru? Wouldn't we feel ashamed? Chu Yang suddenly understood. He gritted his teeth and said, so that's how it is. Diwu Qingru, you are so vicious. I worked so hard to get an ally, and you actually schemed against me like this. The more he spoke, the angrier King of Hell Chu became. He roared and stood up. He was filled with anger and indignation as he said, Diwu Qingru, I, King of Hell Chu, am irreconcilable with you. You or me. His voice was like a rolling wave of anger, spreading far and wide. Many people heard this long cry of grief and indignation, which was like a heart-wrenching cry of blood. To be able to make such a cry, it was either the hatred of killing one's father or stealing one's wife. Such deep resentment was enough to shock the heavens and make ghosts weep. Senior, King of Hell Chu immediately said to the Saber King in fear, "You must not be deceived by that person." "Nonsense, the matter is so clear, how could I be deceived?" "Little Jean, do you think this old man is a martial artist?" The Saber King said gloomily. Yes, Senior is so wise. Ha ha ha, this junior's heart feels like it has been lifted from a heavy burden. Chu Yang was indeed relieved. Chapter 153. Luckily, I succeeded. Chu Yang wiped the sweat off his forehead. This was purely tiring. This job was really not easy. But in the Saber King's eyes, Chu Yang was scared. He comforted Chu Yang. "Don't worry, I will not let them off easily." What does Senior plan to do? Chu Yang rolled his eyes. "Chumph, do you even need to ask?" "Of course, I will kill them all." The Saber King's killing intent soared. "That is too bad." Chu Yang hurriedly said, "If they really had such a plan, then they must have brought good medicine. Senior Sword King's injuries are so serious." Chu Yang sighed. "You really have a conscience." The Saber King's heart was moved. It would be best to trick them into meeting, then pretend to reconcile and trick them into giving us the medicine. First, we will ensure that Senior Sword King's life is not in danger. Then, Senior and I will work together to catch a turtle in a jar. Let Diwu Qingru pay for the medicine and lose his soldiers. Let him know that in this world, there is always someone better. His self-righteous intelligence is nothing in the Heimo clan, Chu Yang viciously said. Yes. The Saber King stood up and proudly said, "This time, Diwu Qingru was defeated by my intelligence. If Diwu Qingru knew that I saw through his scheme, how would he feel?" After he finished speaking, he looked up to the sky and laughed joyfully. "Defeated by your intellect." Chu Yang's mouth twitched crazily under the mask. What the fuck? This is the first time I have seen someone with such thick skin. If Diwu Qingru knew about this, would he be so depressed that he would spit out 100 mouthfuls of blood and castrate himself? Then he would use the knife to slit his own throat and dig a hole to bury himself alive. This is really an injustice. Minister Chu, I have to go back and arrange this matter as soon as possible. In addition, the people from the clan that came this time must also participate in this operation. The Saber King's eyes flashed with killing intent. Diwu Qingru played us like fools. Who does he think he is? Motherfucker, if I don't kill them this time, I will not have the face to stand in this world. Yes, this junior feels the same way as Senior. Chu Yang was filled with righteous indignation as he said, "Speaking of this, it really makes one laugh coldly. The battle between Iron Cloud and Great Jiao is only a matter of lower three heavens. Why does Diwu Qingru want to involve innocent people? This lowly official despises you to the extreme. To implicate the innocent like this, what kind of wise man is he? The first sage." The Saber King thought about how he had seen through the plan of the wisest and couldn't help but feel proud. He thought to himself, the wisest should be me. All right, I'm going back to prepare. You should prepare as well. I don't think you'll be of much use here, the Saber King said with a smile. Of course. With Senior and a group of experts present, this lowly official only needs to wave flags and shout battle cries to cheer them on. However, this lowly official is also basking in Senior's glory, and has obtained a great merit. Chu Yang laughed and said. Senior, this junior would like to ask for your help. Chu Yang took advantage of the harmonious atmosphere to raise his request. Diwu Qingru is probably here to save an important person that we have captured, but that person is already dead. Is it possible? You're saying that I should find someone to impersonate him? And then take the opportunity to severely injure the person who saved him? It had to be said that under Chu Yang's subtle influence, the Saber King's intelligence was rapidly increasing. Now, he didn't even wait for Chu Yang to finish speaking before he started to answer. Yes, Senior is wise. Chu Yang said with admiration. This junior was thinking the same thing, but I didn't think it would be so thorough, ha ha ha. The Saber King laughed and comforted him, understanding the world is all about knowledge. You are still young, it's inevitable that you can't think so far ahead. Yes, Senior is indeed wise. I admire you, ha ha ha. Chu Yang quickly raised his request, then, since this is the case, I'll leave this matter to Senior. I agree. The Saber King immediately decided and solved Chu Yang's problem. I will send someone over later. Ah, is an 8th grade revered martial artist enough? Enough. It's more than enough. Chu Yang laughed, using an 8th grade revered martial artist to set up this trap. Senior, this is like using a butcher's knife to kill a chicken, it's too easy. Ha ha ha. If that's the case, then this old man can rest assured. The Saber King stood up and said with some reluctance, this old man has to go. He really didn't want to leave this place. In this place, he was overflowing with talent, his mind was so sharp that even he couldn't believe it. Take care, Senior. Chu Yang did not forget to flatter him again. Yes, Senior's wisdom is higher than the heavens, your plans are flawless. It's a pity that such a talent is hiding in the wilderness. Look at our Iron Cloud Nation's Grand Marshal. Ha, Junior, don't dream too much. The Saber King proudly shook his head. He was so excited that he suddenly felt like writing a poem on the spot. I am a man of Jianghu, I should be the soul of Jianghu, killing without blinking is my route. He shook his head, good poem. King of Hell Chu loudly applauded. Although this poem is only 40 words, it speaks of Senior's carefree and unrestrained state of mind. It also speaks of the iron blood of Jianghu, the might of the martial arts world, and the moral integrity of a person. It is as clear as the clear blue sky and the bright moon. Listening to it, one's heart would be captivated and filled with respect. Ha ha ha. How could it be so good? You are so young and already know how to flatter. A hearty laughter sounded. In this harmonious atmosphere, the two people winked at each other with a tacit understanding. The Saber King was in a very good mood as he laughed and left. King of Hell Chu's mood was 10,000 times better as he laughed and went in. When Wu Qian came in, she saw King of Hell Chu using a children's book to cover his mouth. He was laughing so hard that tears were flowing down his face. His whole body was twitching as if he was having a stroke. What's wrong with you? Wu Qian was startled and asked in a trembling voice. What was it that made King of Hell Chu this happy? This is too unusual. I just heard him crazily cursing Diwu Qingru. Did I hear it wrong? In order to keep the conversation with the Heimo Saber King confidential, only Chu Yang and the Saber King were present. Otherwise, an inexperienced little girl like Wu Qian would have been able to destroy King of Hell Chu's grand plan with a casual smile if she were to be here. Ha ha ha. King of Hell Chu was still using his mouth to express his joy. His shoulders were shaking like a dog in the middle of winter. After a long time, he finally stopped laughing and returned to normal. What's wrong? Wu Qian was a little scared by his laughter. Ha ha ha. This question was not important, but King of Hell Chu burst out laughing. His laughter was deafening. Wu Qian covered her ears and looked at him with a face full of confusion. Wu Qian angrily glared at him. Then, she heavily stomped her feet and walked out. She cursed in her heart, he's simply a lunatic. He's incurable. She had kindly asked him what was wrong, but he actually scolded her in such an unpleasant manner. Just as the Heimo clan and Minister Chu were looking forward to it, on this evening, Diwu Qingru's vanguard finally arrived at Ironcloud Citadel. In the darkness of the night, they silently snuck in and went straight to Yin Wu Fa's hiding place. It had to be said that Diwu Qingru's intelligence agency had been operating in Ironcloud for many years. This place was truly a secret sect. Yin Wu Fa, the third king-level leader, was on his last breath. The two revered martial artists guarding him also felt like a year. How could there be any miraculous elixirs in such a secretive place? Plus, they could not find a doctor. At most, they could only sneakily buy some medicine and quickly come back. There was always the danger of being exposed. Without any other choice, the two revered martial artists took turns using their pure energy to keep Yin Wu Fa alive. These days, the two of them were almost as tired as Yin Wu Fa. Being able to keep Yin Wu Fa alive until now was already a great miracle. If the reinforcements came a day later, Even if Yin Wu Fa did not die, the two of them would have died from exhaustion. The moment Kong Shang-shin saw Yin Wu Fa, his heart was in turmoil. His nose was sour, and tears almost flowed down his face. Yin Wu Fa in front of him was like a skeleton. His whole body was covered in blood. Fresh blood was still coming out from his wounds. When it came out, it was already purplish black. His mouth was open, trying to exhale, but he had no strength to breathe. It was obvious that he was on his deathbed. Kong Shang-shin looked like he was in his 40s. He was originally a lone thief in lower 3 heavens. Later, because he offended someone he should not have offended, he had no choice but to flee to lower 3 heavens and live with Yin Wu Fa and Yin Wu Tian. During this time, the three of them joined Golden Horse Riders Department and became king-level leaders. The relationship between the three of them was very deep. At this moment, seeing Yin Wu Fa in such a miserable state, how could they not be sad and angry? If you do not cry in this life, you are afraid of being sad in this life. These words were referring to two people. Kong Shang-shin and the other lone thief of lower 3 heavens cried. If you do not see tears, you will not cry. If you see sadness, you will be sad. Sad Saber King Kong Shang-shin. Looking at this name, one would think he was a person who bemoaned the state of the universe and pitied the fate of mankind. However, only those who knew the true meaning of this name would understand how cruel and merciless this Kong Shang-shin was. In this life, he did not cry, but he made others cry. In this life, he was afraid of being sad. Because he was afraid of being sad, he made his enemies feel sad. Seeking revenge for the smallest grievance, this was Kong Shang-shin's personality. Third brother. Kong Shang-shin quickly walked forward. His eyes were red. Chapter 154. How could these proud and arrogant young masters be willing to lose? Not only were they unwilling to lose, but they also wanted to compete with these people to see who would be the best. In their hearts, what was the point of competing with others? If they wanted to compete, they would compete with these people, because these people were the ones with the same status. Only by competing with these people could they be considered as successful. From a certain point of view, it could also be considered as a success for the clan. Although these aristocratic brothers weren't very valued in their families, and when they talked about their families, they had an unconvinced and indignant expression. In fact, each and every one of them had a very strong sense of family. Whether they were playboys or mischievous, when it came to the clan's benefits and reputation, they were more concerned than anyone else. These were the young masters of aristocratic clans. They were also the unique heritage and pride of aristocratic clans. You want to break through your limits? Chu Yang slowly walked in and asked with a smile. Nonsense, the 5 of them rolled their eyes. Your rules are so rigid. According to normal calculations, you need to break through your limits at least once every 2 days to be able to break through one level in a month. Breaking through one's limits every 2 days would kill you. But if you train like this, when will you be able to break through your limits? Chu Yang crossed his arms and looked at them mockingly. Are you all stupid? Then how do you want to train? Luo Ku Di snorted and wiped the sweat on his forehead. The weakest among you is a martial great master. If you waste your time in this kind of battle, how long will it take? Moreover, without the pressure of life and death, you won't be nervous at all. Also, at your level, as long as you have time to recover your energy, you will be able to continuously produce energy. Although it will not be as fast as the consumption, it will at least prolong the consumption time. Chu Yang said casually, and this kind of battle may seem fierce, but everyone has time to rest. Or rather, you don't want to rest, but when you can't enter the battle circle, it is your time to rest. This time may be short, but it is destined that you will never be able to break through your limit. This is a common problem for martial artists. Jimo said, but what can we do? Only when we reach our limits, when we feel a kind of fatigue that is worse than death, when our dantian is empty, will we be able to take a step forward. If you say so, won't we have no hope of breaking through? There's a high chance, but you're just stupid. It's just that I can't find a way to do it. Chu Yang snorted, I can break through the limit 3 or 4 times a day. This was under the condition that I was busy during the day. If I practiced all the time, I would be completely crippled. Do you know what crippled means? 3 or 4 breakthroughs a day? Do you think you're a god? Jimo snorted. He didn't believe this. For a normal person, they might be able to break through a few times a day. However, as a high-ranked martial artist, they would be able to produce an endless supply of energy. It was already difficult for them to reach their limit once, so how could they break through 3 or 4 times a day? Pressure. You guys live like princes. What pressure do you have? Chu Yang said with pity. Then, can you pressure us? Jimo squinted. Very easy. Chu Yang turned his head and shouted, Jiu Duxing, take off your socks. Jiu Duxing was startled, but he still obeyed and took off his shoes. Then, he threw out his sweaty and withered socks. Although they were on the island, the moment he took off his socks, Luo Kudi, Jimo, and Miao Biu Tong all covered their noses and retreated. After a day of sweaty socks, the smell was much stronger than the smell of salted fish. When Jiu Duxing threw them out, the socks actually stood straight on the ground. Now, the 4 of you can train by yourselves. It didn't matter if they were training their fists or their swords. In short, choose the most energy-consuming set. Chu Yang looked at this pair of maverick socks. His eyebrows couldn't help but twitch. He raised his head and looked at the 4 of them. I'll only give you 1 hour. At that time, if any of you still have any energy left in your meridians and dantian, then kneel in front of Jiu Duxing's socks, stick out your tongue and lick them. Then, you have to shout to everyone present, I, Luo Kudi, am not as good as this pair of smelly socks. Then, you have to wash this pair of socks in front of everyone. Why is it my name? Luo Kudi said unhappily, why not I, Dong Wushong, am not as good as this pair of smelly socks. Anyway, it's just a metaphor. At the side, Dong Wushong immediately glared at him. 1 hour. How can an hour be used up? Jimo shouted loudly. A few days ago, I was being hunted down. In just 2 breaths, my energy reached the limit. Chu Yang said indifferently, because, from then on, I realized that it only takes such a short amount of time to reach my limit. The key is just the pressure. Okay, you can start now. Duxing, you'll be the judge. After 1 hour, if anyone still hasn't reached their limit, then do as I say. If all 4 of you don't reach your limit, then do the same thing. At most, I'll contribute another pair of socks. The 4 of them pondered at the same time, squeezing out all the energy in their bodies in 2 breaths. Then, what kind of pressure was this Chu Yang under? They didn't suspect that Chu Yang was lying at all. Because Chu Yang didn't have any need to tell them. Okay. Jiu Duxing laughed heartily. With a puff, a ball of mucus came out from his nose on that pair of socks that couldn't be more smelly. At the start, Jimo and the other 3 immediately started practicing with bitter faces. If they couldn't reach their limit this time, it wouldn't just be a matter of failure. It would also be a huge humiliation. If there was only one person and Chu Yang proposed this method, he would probably fight to the death with Chu Yang. But now there were 4 of them, and each of them wanted to see the other make a fool of himself. Therefore, every time he practiced a move, he concentrated all of his strength. Luo Kudi, in particular, used almost all of his strength. Just 1 punch was enough to cause his face to turn red. He thought bitterly in his heart, why did you use my name as a metaphor? How can I, Luo Kudi, be inferior to a pair of socks? And it's Jiu Duxing's socks. In less than a quarter of an hour, Luo Kudi threw out the last punch with all his strength. His eyes rolled back and he almost fainted. Then, his whole body went soft. Chu Yang took a big stride forward and stretched out his hand to check Luo Kudi's pulse. He felt that Luo Kudi's body was completely drained. So, he turned his head and shouted, Luo Kudi has reached his limit. Pass. When the other 3 heard this, they immediately became anxious. Damn, it's only been a quarter of an hour, stand up. Continue to fight. Continue to fight like before. Chu Yang kicked this guy's body and lifted him up by the neck. He said sternly, quick. I can't fight anymore. Luo Kudi rolled his eyes and hung on Chu Yang's hand like a hanged dog. He stuck out his tongue and said, I'm about to die, Jiu Duxing. Take that pair of socks and stuff it in his mouth. Chu Yang snorted coldly. Okay. Ji Duxing was overjoyed. He used a thin branch to pick up the dried-up ball and swayed it over. No. Luo Kudi's eyes revealed a look of fear. Suddenly, he didn't know where he got the strength from. He broke free from Chu Yang's hand and ran away. Chase. If you catch up, stuff it in his mouth. Chu Yang roared. Ji Duxing roared and chased with all his strength. He was in high spirits. Luo Kudi's legs were weak and his vision was blurry. He kept spitting out white foam from his mouth. He didn't have the strength to curse. His consciousness was also gradually blurred. He could only rely on his instincts to dodge and run desperately. Suddenly, Luo Kudi's speed suddenly increased unknowingly. His originally weak legs suddenly regained their vitality. He ran faster and faster, twisting and turning. However, he still didn't realize it. He was still panting and dodging with all his might with his eyes wide open. Chu Yang gave Ji Duxing a look. Continue to chase. Ji Duxing understood. He waved his smelly socks and continued to chase fiercely. Luo Kudi's pupils were almost scattered, but his speed was getting faster and faster. This situation left Jimo, Dong Wushong, and Miao Biyu Tong dumbstruck. Other than Luo Kudi who didn't know, everyone knew clearly, Luo Kudi had broken through the limit. Not only had he reached the limit, he had broken through the limit. In just a little more than a quarter of an hour, the three of them spat out a mouthful of saliva with difficulty. They seized the time to practice. If Luo Kudi could do it, why couldn't they? Thinking of this, the three of them practiced crazily. They were afraid that they wouldn't have any strength left for every sword strike. In less than an hour, the three of them collapsed from exhaustion. Then, they were kicked up by Chu Yang one by one and rushed to practice. After more than an hour, the four of them were lying on the ground, panting heavily. When they were training to the limit, they didn't sweat at all. Now that they had completely stopped, the sweat on their bodies flowed out like a waterfall. Everyone looked as if they had just been fished out of the water. I just said that I broke through the limit 3 or 4 times in a day. Do you believe me now? Chu Yang snorted and asked lightly. The four of them were panting heavily, but their eyes were full of extreme surprise. Luo Kudi reached the limit 3 times and broke through 2 limit. Chu Yang said, and the three of you, you cheated. You only reached the limit twice and broke it once. You are far worse than him. Jimo and the others were depressed. This wasn't cheating at all. Everyone looked on helplessly. In fact, they even used the same method. There was nothing much to say. A loss was a loss. The most precious thing was that they found that this method could improve their strength. Everyone was very excited. Although it was a little cruel, but which battle in the martial world wasn't cruel? At least this method didn't put their lives in danger. Chu Yang nodded and no longer paid attention to them. He floated to the courtyard that had turned into a mess and slowly got into a stance. The four of them were excited. They knew that Chu Yang was going to practice. They all looked at him intently. They saw Chu Yang's body move slowly in a strange posture. Then, he suddenly shook violently from the bottom to the top. Suddenly, he shouted and punched out fiercely. The four of them could even hear the sound of bones cracking at the same time. Today is little and Chen's birthday. I wish her a happy birthday. Every year, there will be a day like this. Every day, I will smile. Haha, little Luo is very cute. Everyone, come and give your blessings. Let's have a lively time. Recommended new book, Heaven Feather City's latest masterpiece, Huaju's Bodyguard. A mysterious super young man with a mysterious identity. He indulges in a bewitching campus. Everyone knows who Heaven Feather City is. Everyone, go and take a look. I believe you won't be disappointed. Chapter 155. Chu Yang's body was unexpectedly lifted up by this punch. He leaped into the air, and suddenly struck out a leg. Then, a crackling sound could be heard as he extended his leg. Chu Yang's martial power was naturally much lower than theirs. But because of this, Jimo and the others could clearly see the situation of Chu Yang's martial power with their advantage of being a few levels higher. What shocked them was that Chu Yang had only made 3 moves. From his primary energy to his physical body, he had entered a state of overdraft at the same time. Chu Yang did not stop. He persisted and continued to punch. Every punch contained all the strength of his essence, energy, and spirit at the same time. The wind generated by his fists slowly weakened and became silent. Then, the silent punches continued for another 30 or 40 punches. Chu Yang's posture was still the same. Chu Yang's breathing was so rapid that it made the people who heard him worry that his lungs would burst or even pant out of his lungs. After 30 or 40 punches, one of the punches suddenly made a faint whooshing sound. He broke through the limit. Jimo and the others opened their eyes wide and exclaimed. No one understood this feeling better than them. This was a kind of feeling similar to a new life. It was like a phoenix returning to its nest and becoming a Buddha on the spot. Chu Yang's punches slowly became louder and more intense. At the most intense moment, it had already surpassed his previous punches. Then, the sound slowly disappeared. Although his movements were still serious, they also became weak. Another limit. Jimo and Dong Wushong looked at each other in horror. Chu Yang was still moving and did not stop. This time, his breathing was even more rapid. The blue veins on his temples were pulsating as if they were going to burst out of his skin. His face was as red as blood. Slowly, with a whooshing sound, Jimo and the others were stunned. He broke through again. Chu Yang made 3 breakthroughs in a row. After the last breakthrough, he slowly relaxed his body and calmed down his breathing. Then, he stood upright on the spot. Jiu Du Xing and the other 4 people could clearly see that sweat was rushing out from his scalp, forehead, face, and hands. His chest and back were soaked with sweat and stuck to his body. Huge beads of sweat quickly converged into lines of water and flowed on the ground. Slowly, the ground where Chu Yang was standing slowly expanded outwards and gradually turned into a small puddle. After standing for a while, Chu Yang opened his eyes. He shook his head and said with a smile, I didn't make a breakthrough. Jimo fainted at the same time. In less than an hour, he had broken through his limit 3 times. What kind of shocking data was this? And this guy actually said with a gloomy face, I didn't break through. Still thinking about how to break through? They had also broken through their limits in the last half hour. But, they were well aware that they had been forced to break through. And, Chu Yang had forced himself to break through. How could they not know the difference between being forced by oneself and being forced by others? Old boss, Jimo shouted in a nauseating manner. Boss, how did you do it? Luo Kudi and the other 2 simultaneously looked at Chu Yang with sparkling eyes. It's very simple. Chu Yang smiled very easily. Every time before I practice martial arts, I have to think about the corpses in Jianghu and the broken limbs in the wilderness. I tell myself that if I don't break through today, then it's very likely that I will be like that tomorrow, lying on the ground and smelling bad. I don't want to lie on the ground and smell bad. Chu Yang smiled peacefully, so, I can only break through. The reason was very simple and clear. Jimo and the others all became silent. Forcing oneself like this was too cruel and too ruthless. A man should be ruthless to himself. Chu Yang seemed to have seen through their thoughts. He said in a heavy voice, if we don't be ruthless to ourselves, then our enemies will be ruthless to us. We can endure being ruthless to ourselves, but if our enemies are ruthless to us, once is enough. As for the method of breaking through your limits, you know it. But, I have to warn you. With the strength of your bodies, you can't do it more than 5 times a day. Chu Yang said solemnly, we martial artists, especially at the level of martial great masters like you, have much stronger endurance than ordinary people. But you are also in the most critical period, which is to temper your muscles and bones. After breaking through the level of martial great master and reaching the level of revered martial great master, you will temper your internal organs. But during the period of martial great master, tempering your muscles and bones is the foundation of tempering your internal organs. If you break through your limits more than 5 times a day, your bones will not be able to bear it. This situation is not very obvious, but when your internal organs start to temper, you will find that your body can no longer bear it. At that time, even if you train to death, You will not be able to improve your body for the rest of your life. Chu Yang said, this matter must be firmly remembered. The four nodded solemnly at the same time. Okay, go and rest first. Chu Yang didn't say much. These guys were all very smart. So, there was no need for him to say much. Seeing Chu Yang disappear from the room, the four fell into deep thought at the same time. A small martial artist could do something that they, as martial great masters, could not do. How could they endure this? They were simply too ashamed to show their faces. Well, there is one thing I forgot to tell you. Every day after you train, you have to clean the courtyard for me. If there is one thing that is not up to standard, the four of you will wash my socks and underwear at the same time. Chu Yang's indifferent voice came out from the room. Fuck, what do you know besides washing socks? Luo Kudai shouted in dissatisfaction. I dare to bet that when boss comes out and sees the courtyard in such a mess, if any of you can escape from washing socks, I will admire you. Jiyu Duxing smirked. He lifted his chin and pointed at the messy courtyard. I forgot to tell you one more thing. Boss never jokes. Once he says something, he will definitely do it. Ah. The four of them looked at each other at the same time. Then, they let out a strange cry and rushed out. Where are the tools? Jimo shouted, without tools, how can we clean the courtyard? Aren't your hands and feet tools? Jiyu Duxing asked strangely, how can you use tools to temper yourself? The four of them looked up at the sky and heaved a long sigh. Everyone had an extremely strange feeling. Although they were not the first in line to inherit the family, they were still considered young masters. Now that they were here, they actually had to do hard labor. Thinking about it, they did not dare to be negligent. They used their hands and feet to clean the courtyard. They even used their palms to fiercely slap the courtyard. They hoped that when they practiced martial arts tomorrow, they would be able to clean up less. Perhaps they did not know, or perhaps they were still conflicted about Chu Yang's position as the boss. But what they did not realize was that they were doing things according to Chu Yang's preferences. Moreover, they cared a lot about Chu Yang's opinion. It could even be said that they were very afraid. This was a good start. Jiyu Duxing stood on the doorframe, acting as the supervisor. He thought happily. He admired Chu Yang more and more. He really did not know where this guy who was younger than him had so many strange ideas in his head. Fuck you, Duxing, you are just standing there. Does your waist not hurt? Jimo shouted angrily. The other three also joined in the fray, denouncing him one after another. Jiyu Duxing laughed loudly and entered the room. Chu Yang went straight to the secret underground room. As soon as he entered, Mo Chengyu impatiently greeted him. The Hey Mo people are here? Hey. No. Chu Yang was surprised. There was a fight up there. Mo Chengyu's expression was serious. Oh, it was my little brothers. They were learning from each other. Chu Yang finally understood. He suddenly remembered something. The Hey Mo people were basically stabilized. It was time to let Mo Chengyu and Mo Qingwu out for some fresh air. With this thought, he skillfully picked up Mo Qingwu and licked her nose. He smiled and said, Little Wu, Big Brother will carry you out for some fun, okay? Okay. Mo Qingwu was overjoyed. These past few days, she had been holding it in for a long time. The most annoying thing was that there was only a temporary toilet that Chu Yang had set up. Although Mo Qingwu was young, she was very clean. Big Brother Chu Yang, your body stinks. Mo Qingwu covered her nose. Chu Yang smiled awkwardly. He was in a hurry, so he changed his clothes and rushed in without taking a shower. When Mo Chengyu went out, he saw the situation in the yard and was shocked. He almost couldn't believe his eyes. In the yard, 5 people were working in full swing, using their hands and feet to level the ground. Everyone looked like mud monkeys. But when he looked carefully, Mo Chengyu's mouth could not close. The one with his butt sticking out and his mouth puffing out, using both hands to push the ground. Could it be the idle second young master of the Luo clan, Luo Kudai? The one with the nickname Little Wolf? The one with his feet carefully leveling the ground? Could it be the second young master of the Black Saber clan, Dong Wushong? The one lying on the ground with one eye open and the other closed, measuring the level of the ground? Could it be the second young master of the Ji clan, Jimo? And the one with his feet stepping on the ground? Could it be the number one genius of the Jiyu clan, Jiyu Duxing? And the skinny one? Although I don't know him, but looking at his posture, he is not much weaker than the people I know. Could it be that Chu Yang gathered all the second-generation young masters of the upper three heavens to do hard labor? This is too awesome, isn't it? As far as Mo Chengyu knew, even if their own father ordered them to do this kind of work, they would only get the back of their heads. Yet, Chu Yang was able to make them obediently work for him. What kind of skill is this? Is Chu Yang not afraid of these clans finding out and tearing him apart alive? Mo Chengyu was an important king-level master of the Mo clan, and he was also the protector and guide of young Miss Mo Chingwu. Of course, he knew the young masters of these clans, because the future competitors and allies of the Mo clan's young masters were these people. He had to remember them. Chapter 156. Normally, these people were called the protectors of the clan. They were not given the opportunity to get close to the core of the clan, but their martial prowess was nurtured at all cost. In other words, these people were the future generals of the clan. They were the future candidates to lead the charge and break through enemy lines. They were the future candidates to become elders. If Mo Chengyu could not remember and recognize such important people, then he would become a joke. The 5 people who were in full swing suddenly felt that something was wrong behind them. They turned around and saw the shocked middle-aged man with his mouth agape. He had the same expression on his face. Why is the king-level leader of the Mo clan here? Why are you here? They all opened their mouths at the same time and then closed their mouths at the same time. They looked at each other and were all confused. I took them in. At that time, I saw that one old and one young were homeless, so I took them in. Chu Yang carried Mo Chingwu with one hand as he walked out of the room. Homeless? Jimo and the others could clearly hear their jaws dropping. The king-level leader of the Mo clan was homeless. This was especially true for Luo Ku Di. He looked at Mo Chengyu with a hint of hostility. The Luo clan and the Mo clan had never been on good terms. Even though they had never openly offended each other, there was always friction in the dark. This was because the two clans were too close to each other. Within a radius of 500 miles, there were 2 great clans. For the Luo clan and the Mo clan, this was like a bone stuck in their throats. They had to spit it out. However, in terms of strength, they could not do anything to each other. At this time, Mo Chingwu struggled out of Jimo's arms and happily called out, "Brother Jimo." Jimo was shocked. He rubbed his eyes and said in disbelief, "Xiao Wu? Why are you here?" Mo Chingwu giggled as she dashed over. Jimo held her in his arms. His joy was evident on his face. While he was talking to Xiao Wu, he suddenly felt an extremely sharp gaze on his back. It was as if there was a knife on his back. Immediately after, Chu Yang rushed over and snatched Mo Chingwu from Jimo's arms. He said in an unfriendly tone, "You two know each other?" Jimo was furious. It was a reunion after a long time, but she was snatched away. He glared at her and said, "My mother is her aunt. Do you think we know each other or not?" "Oh, so that's how it is." Chu Yang suddenly felt relieved and said, "Then, it's all right." He scratched his head and grinned awkwardly. Then, he put Mo Chingwu down. However, he still had some doubts in his heart. "Just now, I said that Jimo is the son of a concubine. But Mo Chingwu's aunt could be said to be the daughter of a noble family. She was the younger sister of the clan head of the Mo clan, so how could she only be the concubine of the clan head of the Ji clan?" This seemed a little inconceivable. Could it be that there was something more to this? Chu Yang muttered in his heart. At this time, Mo Chengyu slowly explained why he was here. Hearing this, Jimo couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. He walked in front of Chu Yang, bowed deeply, and said in a sincere tone, "Big brother, thank you for saving my cousin." Ha ha ha. Chu Yang was in a good mood. "What did you call him?" "Boss." "He is your boss." Mo Chengyu's eyes widened like a bull's. He pointed at Chu Yang in disbelief. "Yes, he is my boss." "What's wrong?" Jimo rolled his eyes and said in an unwilling tone. He wanted to cry but had no tears. "Old Mo, Don't ask anymore. This young master has boarded a pirate ship. You guys are here, doing this. Mo Cheng Yu was still in a daze. Mo couldn't help but sigh as he thought about the past. He rolled his eyes and thought, how could it be only this? If I don't do well, I still have to wash my smelly socks. But this matter needs to be kept a secret for as long as possible, it is too shameful. Good, very good. Mo Cheng Yu suddenly laughed out loud. He pointed at Luo Kudi and said to Chu Yang, little one, train that little one for me. If he dies, I will take responsibility. Chu Yang was sweating profusely. Mo Cheng Yu was a king-level master, so he naturally wouldn't stay with these youngsters for long. After some small talk, he went to the lake alone with his hands behind his back. He wanted to feel the energy of heaven and earth to heal his injuries. Meanwhile, Mo was happily chatting with Mo Qingwu. From time to time, bursts of laughter could be heard from both the adult and the child. They were very happy and harmonious. Chu Yang's eyes were burning with anger as he looked at him. The more he looked at this guy, the more he felt that he deserved a beating. Brother Mo, I want to have a martial arts duel with you. However, Mo quickly regretted it. Mo Qingwu stood up and pointed at his nose. I want to have a sword duel with you. A sword duel? Mo's mouth was wide open. Yes, a sword duel. Do you remember when you brought a sword to my house during the New Year? Me. At that time, you were very arrogant. You even broke my second brother's sword. Mo Qingwu pouted. Today, I want to take revenge. Mo opened his mouth and swallowed his saliva. He looked up at the sky and didn't know what to say. Yes. A sword duel. Let's teach him. Luo Kudi and Gbu Tong were cheering on the side. Dong Wu Shong also raised his fist and cheered for Mo Qingwu. Such a beautiful and cute little girl, everyone liked her very much. Even Luo Kudi, whose clan was hostile to Mo Qingwu, could not bring himself to dislike her. Everyone was on Mo Qingwu's side, waiting to see Mo make a fool of himself. How can I have a sword duel with you? Mo said carefully. Xiao Wu, why don't I tell you a story? Sure. Mo Qingwu clapped her hands. Everyone else sighed in disappointment. Children are so gullible. Looks like we won't be able to see the joke. Well, Mo only said a few words. I've heard it. Mo Qingwu pouted. Big brother Chu Yang has told me. Then, he's told me too. He's told me too. Mo broke down. Courtesy of at Benge, big brother Mo, you're so useless. Mo Qingwu wrinkled her little nose and looked at Mo in disdain. You know so few stories, and they're all told by big brother Chu Yang. Mo was dumbfounded. He was so young, how many stories could he have in his mind? To be honest, it was already very good to be able to remember 3 or 4 of such stories. And these 3 or 4 stories were specially prepared for Mo Qingwu. Once he encountered them, he would take them out and present them as treasures. Because he always knew that Mo Qingwu liked to listen to stories. But he didn't expect that they were all outdated. Mo straightened up with a long face and looked at Chu Yang. Boss, why are you so knowledgeable? Chu Yang also sighed, feeling a little sad in his heart. For a moment, a feeling of sympathy for fellow sufferers arose spontaneously. He thought to himself, why am I so knowledgeable? You'll have to ask your cousin. Big brother Mo, are there any more stories? Mo Qingwu shook Mo's hand gently. Seeing this expression, Chu Yang immediately turned his head sympathetically. Mo spread out his hands helplessly. No more. I want to compete with you in swords. Mo Qingwu shouted angrily. This time, she was even more imposing. Mo slipped and almost fell to the ground. Little Wu, competing with swords is not fun. Then tell me a story. I really don't have any more. Mo was so anxious that he stomped his feet. He couldn't help but bow to Jiu Duxing, Luo Kedi and the others. Brothers, help me out, this is an emergency. Tell me a story. No. Jiu Duxing and the others held back their laughter. Strange. At the same time, they were deliberately laughing at him. Compete with me in swords. Mo Qingwu didn't give up. After we compete with swords, everything will be fine, right? Mo asked hopefully. Yes, it seems to be fine. Mo Qingwu bit her finger and thought seriously for a while. Then, she said with uncertainty, "Okay, I'll compete with you in swords." Ji Mo stood up with a heroic and tragic expression. He grabbed the scabbard and thought to himself, "I'll just clash with her weapon a few times and then say that she won." Who knew that Mo Qingwu would suddenly jump up with a broken scabbard in her hand? She waved it fiercely. A red light almost blinded Ji Mo. In shock, he controlled his strength and blocked with his sword. Crack. Ji Mo was stunned. Luo Kedi was stunned. Jiyu Duxing was stunned. Everyone was stunned. The sword in Ji Mo's hand was broken into 4 pieces. What saber is this? Ji Mo's head was covered in cold sweat. Looking at the saber surrounded by red light, he turned pale with fright. "Brother Chu Yang gave it to me." Mo Qingwu proudly held the saber and nestled in Chu Yang's arms. "Brother Ji Mo, do you dare to break my second brother's sword in the future?" It seemed that the relationship between little Wu and her second brother Mo Tianji was really not ordinary. Chu Yang thought to himself, I won't dare to. Ji Mo wiped his sweat and still had some lingering fear. "Fortunately, I used Luo Kedi's sword. If I used my own, this would be really bad." "What? My sword?" Luo Kedi was originally smiling from ear to ear, full of schadenfreude. Who would have thought that things would suddenly take a turn for the worse? Ji Mo actually used his own sword. He jumped over to take a look. Immediately, his nose became crooked from anger. He shouted with a heart-wrenching cry of blood, "Ji Mo, you damn pig gong, you should be hacked to death by 1,000 knives. You should be hacked to death by 1,000 knives. I, my sword, Ji Mo ran away like a wisp of smoke. He turned back and said, "It's just a sword. Look at you, this is my fiancé's birthday gift to me." Luo Kedi was so angry that he couldn't take it anymore. He jumped up and chased after him. The 2 of them, one chasing and one running, circled around this small island a few times in a split second. "Little Wu, come here." Chu Yang's face darkened. "Brother Chu Yang." The little lowly nervously bit her finger. "In the future, you can't do this to your family, okay?" Chu Yang said with a heavy face, "Look, your brother Luo is so sad." He suddenly remembered that if Mo Qingwu used this saber to compete with others, sooner or later, she would cause trouble. "Brother Chu Yang, I won't dare to." Mo Qingwu was about to cry. "Okay, just remember." Chu Yang comforted her. Chapter 157. A fiancé is. Chu Yang was suddenly at a loss for words. What was a fiancé of Wind and Rain Pavilion? A fiancé, what else could it be? If he had to answer this question, it was really not easy. "Du Xing, what is a fiancé?" Chu Yang turned around and asked. "This." Jiyu Du Xing scratched his head and said with a face full of embarrassment, "It's really hard to say." "Dong Wu Shong, what is a fiancé?" Dong Wu Shong was startled and asked back, "What is a fiancé? What is a fiancé, brother Chu Yang?" Mo Qingwu asked anxiously. "A fiancé is." Seeing that these guys could not be pointed out, Chu Yang had to use his own brain. "A fiancé is a future wife." "Yes, that's it. Future wife." Mo Qingwu blinked, puzzled. "This." Chu Yang's forehead was sweating. His 2 hands were randomly grabbing the air. Suddenly, an idea came to his mind, and he said, "Just like your father and mother." Your mother is very close. She was your father's fiancée when she was young. Do you understand?" Chu Yang asked. "So it's like this." Mo Qingwu suddenly realized, is a fiancé always together? Yes, they will always be together in the future. Chu Yang wiped his sweat, and, you have to take care of your fiancé. You can't make her angry or sad. Yes, in short, a fiancé is the person you have to treat the best to, and the person who treats you the best. Then, so good. Brother Chu Yang, can I be your fiancé? Mo Qingwu asked shyly. Her long eyelashes fluttered, full of reverie. Phut. Jiyu Du Xing, who had been eavesdropping with a strange smile, choked and coughed. Shu Biyu Tong and Dong Wu Shong also laughed. Yes. Good, good, good. Chu Yang happily and contentedly said, then from today onwards, little Wu is my fiancé, wah-ha. Wah-ha, ha-ha-ha, I'm also your fiancé, wah-ha. Mo Ching Wu also laughed complacently, you can't make me angry, you can't make me sad. If there's anything delicious, you have to give it to me. If there's anything fun, I want to play. If there's a good story, I want to listen to it first. Chu Yang broke out in cold sweat. So this is what this little lowly likes. Dong Wu Shong laughed for a while, then suddenly said, little sister, can I take a look at your saber? Dong Wu Shong was a member of the Black Saber aristocratic family, so he was naturally very sensitive to sabers. Jiu Du Xing and the others, including Ji Mo and Luo Ku Di, either forcibly refrained from asking or ran out in order to avoid arousing suspicions. Luo Ku Di's sword was only an ordinary sword, but he was an enemy of the Mo clan. He only needed to find a reason to pretend that he didn't see Mo Ching Wu's saber. Ji Mo naturally knew what he was thinking, and deliberately led him away. Otherwise, with such a peerless saber in front of them, how could the two of them, as members of a martial arts aristocratic family, resist their curiosity? Right now, in their hearts, they already had the thought of treating Chu Yang as their boss. This saber was given to me by brother Chu Yang. Mo Ching Wu's words completely dispelled any thoughts Luo Ku Di might have had. A saber given to me by the boss, if I sold this saber, wouldn't that be the same as selling out the boss? This was a great taboo in Jianghu, but Dong Wu Shong was influenced by his clan, and loved sabers to the point of obsession. Such a peerless saber was placed in front of him, and he couldn't even play with it. This was simply the greatest torture. He endured for a while, and finally couldn't bear it anymore, and begged. Mo Ching Wu tilted her head and looked at Chu Yang. Brother Chu Yang, let him see it. Let him see it. Chu Yang smiled in his heart. As long as Dong Wu Shong saw this saber, he wouldn't be able to leave in this lifetime. This was one of the 12 influential figures who was on par with Jiu Du Xing. Mo Ching Wu handed the saber to Dong Wu Shong. Dong Wu Shong was so nervous that his face turned red. First, he wiped his hands on his lapel twice, and saw that there was still dust on them. Then, he quickly ran to the side of the river, and washed his hands clean. Only then did he run back impatiently. Once he was far away, Mo Ching Wu's temper almost flared up, and she almost put the saber away so that he wouldn't see it. Carefully holding the dreaming of a gentle dance saber in his hand, Dong Wu Shong had an infatuated expression, as if he was looking at the lover of his dreams. He gently stroked the saber, and gently waved it twice. Then, he looked at the waving saber in a daze, as if he was looking at his own dream. Dong Wu Shong sighed softly. He turned the saber around, and gently cut the arm that was holding the saber. Blood immediately flowed out. Mo Ching Wu cried out in surprise. Dong Wu Shong looked as if he was on a pilgrimage. His face was solemn as he dripped a drop of his blood on the saber. Then, he straightened the saber, and the blood flowed down the saber without stopping. When it was about to reach the hilt, a hazy red light flashed, and the saber suddenly turned around. That drop of blood quickly flowed down the tip of the saber. Finally, the blood dripped from the tip of the saber and fell to the ground. The saber was clear and bright, and there wasn't the slightest bit of blood left. Dong Wu Shong raised his head to the sky, and let out a long sigh. He said, a peerless treasured saber, any ceremony is worthy of it. This kind of ceremony of watering the treasured saber with the blood of the hand holding the saber was the highest respect a saber user could give to a saber. It was also the most ancient and solemn ceremony in the land of saber cultivation. Wu Shong, do you like it? Chu Yang asked with a smile. I love it as much as my life. Dong Wu Shong sighed despondently and reluctantly handed the saber to Mo Ching Wu. Seeing Mo Ching Wu sheath the saber into the tattered scabbard without any care, the muscles on his face twitched again. If you can stay, I will find you a saber that is not inferior to this saber, Chu Yang said indifferently. Really? Dong Wu Shong stood up abruptly, and looked at Chu Yang passionately. Really? I, Chu Yang, always keep my word, Chu Yang said solemnly. Boss. Dong Wu Shong was so emotional that his face turned red. He turned around and knelt down. Boss. I beg you, you must find me a saber. After seeing this saber, I won't be able to sleep at night. Chu Yang was taken aback. He didn't expect Dong Wusheng's reaction to be so intense. You are not a saber user, so you don't understand. A saber user needs a saber. Dong Wusheng raised his head proudly. The saber is the king of weapons. Since time immemorial, the first metal weapon that appeared was the saber. The saber is also the ancestor of weapons. The saber's position is the highest. In the list of weapons, the saber will always be number one. Dong Wusheng's eyes shone with brilliant fanaticism. As a saber user, it is also the noblest group of martial artists. Since ancient times, no one has ever reached the peak of saber cultivation. There was no end to the saber. You will never understand the attraction of a good saber to a saber user. To a saber user, the saber is his whole world. It is his parents, his wife, his lover, his daughter, his blood, his soul. And I, Dong Wusheng, have sworn since childhood that I will be the number one saber user at the peak of saber cultivation. Dong Wusheng said fanatically. And finding a saber that is compatible with my life and soul is as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Dong Wusheng said, as long as boss can give me such a saber, I will work for you for the rest of my life. It's not that serious. It can't be considered working for you, Chu Yang said seriously. What I lack are brothers, not subordinates. What I lack are brothers who are willing to climb to the peak with me, to wave the winds and clouds, and to dominate the world. What I hope is that in my life, I can always have a few good brothers who will never leave me, who will take care of me with all sincerity, who will live and die together. Chu Yang said deeply and longingly, I hope that I can do anything for my brothers, that kind of feeling where I have no regrets even if I die. That is the feeling of a man. I also hope that when I am at the peak, my brothers will also be there. I will not be lonely. And I hope even more that when my brothers are at the peak, I will not let them be lonely. I hope even more that when I am down, when I am helpless, when I am hesitating, I will have brothers by my side. Chu Yang said very emotionally. A trace of stubborn desire shone from his eyes. Love, the thing that Chu Yang lacked the most in his previous life, and also the thing that he desired the most in this life. I hope to fight with you for a lifetime of glory and splendor, to fight for an eternal legend. And what I hope even more is that if we can become legends thousands of years later, then I hope that in my legend, you will be there, and in your legend, I will be there. In my life, I will not let down the word brother. When he said these words, even Jiu Duxing and Yu Bu Tong on the side were stunned. The eyes of the two people were shining with light. In a few years, if I become a legend, then I hope that in my legend, you will be there. In a few years, if you become a legend, then I hope that in your legend, I will be there. In my life, I will not let down the word brother. In my life, I will not let down the word brother. Chu Yang sighed. He looked at the dusky sky in the distance, and exhaled a deep breath. Brothers are made through hard work. Together through trials and tribulations, together through hard work, together on the road, all the way forward. Only then can one be as firm as steel, and love as hard as metal and stone. I still don't understand the true meaning of you establishing Heavenly Armament Pavilion. Now, maybe I understand a little. Jiu Duxing said slowly. Haha, people are divided into 3 classes. Birds of a feather flock together. Chu Yang said quietly, I often hear people say that when I am in glory and splendor, even if you are still a beggar, you are still my brother. Chu Yang shook his head and smiled, saying, but this is just a metaphor. You have to know that when you are in glory and splendor, your brother is still in poverty. Then, you are not his brother. Or it can be said that in your heart, you still see him as a brother, but in reality, you are no longer worthy of being his brother. It is not that he is not worthy of you. When you are working hard, your brother is also working hard. When you are successful, he is still in poverty. Then, can you give him a hand? To you, it is just a matter of lifting a hand. You did not extend a hand. Then, you only see him as a brother. What is the use? Such a brother has become a tool for you to show off after you have achieved success. How can he be considered a brother? Chu Yang said quietly, sharing trials and tribulations is a brother. Sharing riches and splendor is also a brother. Sharing trials and tribulations, sharing riches and splendor is a true brother. Chapter 158. The long night was quiet, the long night was long, the clouds floated gently in the sky, the sound of the wind was quiet, quietly blowing. Chu Yang's young face, under the faint moonlight, was constantly changing. The young man smiled faintly and spoke softly. Around him, the other youths were hugging their knees as they quietly listened. Ji Mo and Luo Ku Di also came back at some point. They were sitting quietly on the outside. Everyone's eyes were shining brightly. Emerald Flow Lake's water gently rolled and splashed against the shore endlessly. It was as if it had been like this since ancient times until now. It was meaningful and warm, plain and eternal. Brothers need to be fought with their own blood and tears, not spoken with words. Finding a good brother is much more difficult than finding a good wife. Chu Yang gently smiled. Friends want me to have one. What about you guys? We also want to have one. I do. The youths were full of longing as they smiled. That night, everyone felt that it was wonderful. They all sat quietly. Mo Qingwu was nestled in Chu Yang's arms. She was also obedient and quiet. No one wanted to break this beautiful atmosphere. Because this atmosphere was full of leeway. Mo Chengyu quietly sat on the roof. Listening to Chu Yang's words, the corner of his mouth revealed a sincere smile. He recalled the time when he was young, when he practiced martial arts with his brothers. They roamed Jianghu side by side. They rushed in and out of a bloody storm together. They got drunk together and fooled around together. They did everything together. Mo Chengyu gently sighed. How many years has it been? How many brothers had disappeared just like that? How many are left? At this moment, Mo Chengyu suddenly made a decision. When I go back, I must find my brothers and have a good drink. I must have a good and quiet memory. After a long time, Dong Wushong chuckled and jumped into the courtyard that had just been leveled. A saber light flashed as the dark saber technique was violently displayed. He was forcing himself. The other youths looked at each other and chuckled. They all began to practice martial arts. Everyone saw the light in each other's eyes. If they wanted to be brothers, then they must not fall behind. When their brothers were standing at the peak, they must not be at the foot of the mountain looking up. Chu Yang smiled as he watched. He felt the calamity sword in his dantian gently surge. You already know what a brother is. The sword soul's voice gently sounded in Sumo's mind. There was a trace of gratification in it as it said, although it is still a little one-sided, you have already understood some of the 7 emotions of the human world. What I want to tell you today is that love is the most important part of cultivation. Love is the most important link. Chu Yang repeated softly, as if he had understood something. The aura of the tribulation sword in his dantian surged violently, and a strange aura rushed into Chu Yang's meridians. The sword spirit was somewhat gratified, but also somewhat disappointed. Today, as a reward for you, I will no longer suppress your cultivation. Brothers were also a type of martial arts comprehension. You are enough. In the courtyard, the 5 of them were already exhausted, but they were still stubbornly standing, not falling down. They were using the power of their bodies to cultivate, trying to break through their own limits. All of a sudden, a faint ripple of Yu's aura spread out in the courtyard. As the geniuses of the various big clans, they were naturally very familiar with what such a ripple represented. Because they themselves had experienced it many times before, and each time, it was a moment of pride and a great sense of accomplishment. Everyone followed the aura to search. The aura surged, and suddenly, it was as if 10,000 horses were galloping, boiling, and roaring. Everyone looked over in shock. They saw Chu Yang, who was gently hugging Mo Qingwu, had a clear look on his face. He was just sitting there calmly, and that obscure aura was spreading out from his body. Breakthrough? Chu Yang broke through? Everyone was so shocked that their mouths were wide open. Only Jiyu Duxing did not feel any exception. He only smiled bitterly. This little freak, today's matter must have touched his heart. He actually broke through so quickly, the ripple of energy disappeared. 5th grade martial artists. Ji Mo, Dong Wushang, and the rest all heaved a sigh of relief. 5th grade martial artist. Who knew how long he had been stuck here? A sudden breakthrough was not something surprising. Everyone looked at each other and continued to cultivate. However, not long after, another aura rippled out, and the dense aura surged out again. Jimo and the rest were shocked. Who was it this time? Chu Yang had just broken through, so it could not be him again. But after they looked around, they finally found something that made them collapse. Chu Yang. It was Chu Yang again. Jimo's mouth was wide open, and he slowly spat out 2 words, I. Ko. Luo Ku Di and Dong Wushang were also stunned. This sudden breakthrough. Could it be that there was such a thing? It must be known that every breakthrough required a large amount of true inner force. As for the true inner force, it required a period of time to accumulate. As the dense aura became clearer, a boom seemed to resound in everyone's hearts. Everyone's jaws almost dropped to the ground at the same time as the sound of the vibrations echoed in the air. Another breakthrough. Another breakthrough, martial artist grade. On the roof, Mo Chengyu smiled bitterly. He was a king-level master. Although he had not recovered from his injuries, his perception was much more sensitive than the people below. Ever since Chu Yang had broken through to 5th grade martial artist, he had been paying attention. He discovered that Chu Yang's aura had stopped at the initial 5th grade martial artist for only a moment. Then, the aura in Chu Yang's body slowly increased until it reached 5th grade martial artist. At this time, Mo Chengyu was shocked. However, Chu Yang's aura did not stop growing, and it continued to grow. Slowly, it reached the high rank, then the peak rank, and then, it continued to break through to the low rank. Monster. Seeing Chu Yang break through like this, Mo Chengyu's heart became even more worried. Don't look. Boss is always like this. Once he breaks through, it will be continuous. Jiyu Du-shing smiled bitterly in his heart as he called out to them. Under Jiyu Du-shing's greeting, the group once again became spirited, and they began to torture their bodies, which were almost unable to bear the burden. After another half an hour, another wave of dense and obscure aura began to slowly fluctuate. Plop. Ji Mo was looking. After a while, he found out that it was Chu Yang again. He finally could not help but fall to the ground. His whole body trembled, and his mouth was crooked as he said, Up, this motherfucker, this motherfucker. Dong Wushang stared at Chu Yang, tongue-tied. His heart was so calm that it could not be described. Luo Ku Di was stunned. Another breakthrough, 3 consecutive breakthroughs. Moreover, his aura continued to grow, all the way until it reached the peak of level 7 before it finally stopped unwillingly. Mo Chengyu, who was on the roof, almost fell down, breaking through several grades in a row. If one ate a heavenly elixir, as long as the elixir was controlled and the body did not explode, it could be done. However, this was the first time he had seen someone cultivate slowly and steadily step by step. Especially, when he was breaking through, he was holding a small body in his arms. Mo Ching-wu. This really made people speechless. When a normal person was breaking through, even the slightest disturbance would cause them to go crazy. Even a dog's bark would affect them. This young master, on the other hand, was holding a lively little girl and broke through 3 grades in a row. Mo Ching-wu was very well behaved. She didn't move an inch in Chu Yang's arms when he was breaking through. But, she was still a living person. Ji Mo, with your talent, you can be considered a genius in your G clan. I heard that your fastest speed was to break through 1 grade in 3 days. Jiyu Du-shing's cold face revealed an indescribable expression. For the first time, he smiled and spoke to Ji Mo enthusiastically. Get lost. You have a little bit of kindness, it's all stolen. Ji Mo was furious. In front of this freak who broke through 3 grades in less than 3 hours, he praised me, a person who broke through 1 grade in 2.5 days, as a genius. You, Jiyu Du-shing, are really a genius. In the future, if anyone praises me as a genius again, I will get angry with them. Ji Mo covered his face and lay on the ground. His legs were spasming. It was too embarrassing. In front of this Chu Yang, no matter what kind of genius one was, they could only feel ashamed of their inferiority. Brother Chu Yang, are you finally done breaking through? Seeing that Chu Yang had finally opened his eyes, Mo Ching-wu curled up and asked timidly. Yes, I'm done breaking through. Chu Yang smiled gently and stroked Mo Qingwu's hair. I was afraid of disturbing you, so I didn't dare to move. Mo Qingwu pouted and said pitifully, my waist is sore, my legs are sore, my arms are sore, even my butt is sore. Yes. I'll help you rub. Chu Yang revealed a doting smile. Yes, here, use less strength, right here, and there. Mo Qingwu turned her body and pointed at Chu Yang. Suddenly, she giggled. Itchy. Finally, after rubbing her arms and legs, Mo Qingwu actually sat up and lay on Chu Yang's lap. She stuck out a finger and pointed. And the butt is good too. Chu Yang sweated profusely. Gently rubbing her butt, Chu Yang's imagination suddenly ran wild. If in another 7 or 8 years, she would also lie on top of him and let him touch her. Thinking of this, Chu official Chu's mouth suddenly became dry. He secretly scolded himself. Beast, what are you thinking? Chu Yang, you actually have this kind of thought for a young girl. This is simply intolerable. Although he was scolding himself, it was still very shameful. Brother Chu Yang, it's done. Mo Qingwu twisted her waist uncomfortably. What did you use to press against my lower abdomen? It hurts. As he spoke, he stretched out his hand to teach her. Ah, cough. Chu Yang hurriedly put Mo Qingwu down and stood up quickly. He laughed loudly and walked towards the training area. How's your practice? Why are you all looking at me like that? Is there something on my face? The 4 of them looked at him with grief and anger. Finally, they groaned weakly at the same time. Jimo said with a long face, we've been tricked. Luoku Di actually nodded sympathetically. We've been tricked. In a few years, if I become a legend, I hope that you will be in my legend. In a few years, if you become a legend, I hope that I will be in your legend. Chapter 159. At the same time, they remembered that Chu Yang had made a bet with them that he would break through to martial master from 4th grade martial artist within a month. At that time, they all thought that this guy was joking. Now that they thought about it, how could he still need a month? This guy broke through 3 grades in 4 hours. Now he was already 7th grade. Thinking of this, the 4 of them were a little dejected. Don't look at me like that. I'll be shy. Chu Yang laughed. He hugged his head and turned around. As he walked, he said, let's go to sleep. Breaking through feels good. Behind him, the 4 of them looked at each other. Breaking through feels good. How could they not feel good? If we broke through like this, we would have died long ago. Yes, Dongwu Shong, if you can be the first to break through and stay, I'll give you the saber in your heart. Chu Yang stopped. With his back facing them, he said, however, you'll have to provide the black iron for the black saber yourself. No problem. Dongwu Shong was so excited that his whole body trembled. I'll definitely be the first to break through this month. Then I'll go home and get it. TSK. First to break through? Dongwu Shong, who do you think you are? Luoku Di, Jimo, and Gbu Tong looked at him with hostility. Yes, I have a feeling that I'm about to break through. At the side, Jiu Duxing, who had been standing there coolly, suddenly said with a strange expression. The 4 of them vomited blood at the same time. You can't be. It's true. Jiu Duxing nodded seriously. Looks like I'll have to go into seclusion tonight. I'm sorry, everyone. Looks like I won't be able to run away from the title of second brother. He turned around and walked away. Behind him, Jimo screamed hoarsely, Duxing, you can't be so inhumane. You just broke through to 7th grade martial great master. Jiu Duxing stopped and said regretfully, I have to correct your mistake. I broke through to 7th grade martial great master half a month ago. Jimo wanted to cry but had no tears. He sat on the ground. He was completely agitated. Originally, both of them were martial great masters and were evenly matched. Now, Jiu Duxing was about to break through to 8th grade. How could the proud and arrogant Jimo endure such humiliation? That night, Jimo and the other 3 couldn't sleep. When Jiu Duxing's room suddenly emitted the dense aura of a breakthrough, the 4 of them burst into tears at the same time. They had really broken through. That night, Jin Ri slept soundly. It was the 3rd watch of the night. From the direction of the slums, more than a dozen figures rose into the air and flew towards the prison as if they were riding on clouds. The Golden Horse Riders Department had finally taken action. Before the troops left, Kong Shin sternly said, "Make a scene." They were going to make a scene. Whether number 1 could be saved or not, it was all up to fate. However, you must turn the prison upside down. I will be guarding Bu Tian Pavilion. Once the news spreads, King of Hell Chu will definitely come to investigate. At that time, it will be the best time for me to kill King of Hell Chu. In Kong Shin's heart, King of Hell Chu's life and death were much more important than number 1. Number 1 Lian Jie didn't even do a good job as a spy and was even captured alive. This kind of trash actually needed someone to save him. However, using this matter to kill King of Hell Chu, number 1 could be considered to have contributed greatly. King of Hell Chu had always lived in seclusion. It was impossible for outsiders to see him or grasp his whereabouts. The only way was to lure the snake out of its hole. It was not that Kong Shin did not think of directly breaking into Bu Tian Pavilion and killing King of Hell Chu. However, he did not know where King of Hell Chu was. How could he kill him in one strike? He was afraid that as soon as the wind blew, King of Hell Chu would run away. Plus, as long as King of Hell Chu took off his mask, no one would be able to recognize him. Beating the grass to scare the snake would not be good. Therefore, Kong Shin used this opportunity. Rescuing number 1 was fake, but luring the snake out of its hole and killing King of Hell Chu was the most important thing, even though the Prime Minister had said not to touch King of Hell Chu as much as possible. But the Prime Minister had also said, if there is a good opportunity, there is no harm in fighting. Kong Shin was very confident. Iron Cloud's prison was heavily guarded. From the day they set up the trap until today, it had not been a long time. Calculating the time, if Great Zhao wanted to take action, then today would be the day they would arrive at Iron Cloud. From today onwards, Mao Yi would enter a state of full combat. A big battle could break out at any time. Even though they did not know who was imprisoned inside, one thing was certain: this person was an important person of Great Zhao. Otherwise, King of Hell Chu would not have gone through so much trouble. His Highness would not have cooperated so much. Thinking of this, the guards all had their hearts in their throats. Even though they were on duty, who would dare to sleep? Perhaps if they fell asleep, they would not be able to wake up the next day. Just as everyone was on high alert, something unexpected finally happened. Without a sound, on the highest sentry post, the largest lantern suddenly went out. Then, all the other lanterns went out one after another. The entire front half of the prison was suddenly plunged into absolute darkness. Enemy attack! A sharp cry rang out. It was especially mournful in the silent night. Suddenly, the guards and experts of Iron Cloud who were guarding the prison rushed out at almost the same time. They quickly guarded all the entrances, but the surroundings were quiet. There was not the slightest movement. The night was dark, the enemy was here, but no one knew where the enemy was hiding. Each of them unsheathed their swords as if they were facing a great enemy. In the Shadow City, the 3 command horse riders looked at each other. For this operation, the 3 of them each led a team. Kong Shin was hiding in the shadows and did not participate. Looking at their defense, the left door should be the most heavily guarded. One of the command horse riders said, according to the map of the prison, there should be many cells inside. This is going to be troublesome. The 3 of them nodded at the same time. The commotion just now was caused by them. Humans, only when they are caught off guard would they unconsciously show what they care about the most through their actions. And now, the 3 command horse riders were using this to their advantage. First, they beat the grass to scare the snake. Then, they used the enemy's reaction to determine where number 1 was imprisoned. Finally, they gathered their strength and attacked the enemy's weak point to achieve their goal. This was a method that only experienced Jiang Hu people would use. Follow the original plan, let's move out. One of the command horse riders quickly ordered. In the quiet night, 3 horses suddenly galloped from the main road straight toward the prison. The sound of hooves was like rain, shattering the night. Who is it? Stop! At the entrance of the prison, there was a loud shout. On top of the walls, a large group of archers stood up. On their bowstrings, there were rows upon rows of shining arrows, emitting a faint light in the night. "Who is on duty tonight? Come out and answer." The 3 horses stopped. The 2 people behind them were wearing the uniforms of the Imperial Guards, but the one in front was wearing casual clothes. At this moment, he was sitting high on the horse. His eagle eyes were coldly looking at the prison gate. In the shadow of the gate, a person said in a low voice, "Thunder is about to rise. Eternal iron cloud." The person did not hesitate to answer the code and asked, "Is it Commander Lee or Commander Ju?" "It is Lee." "Which one of the Imperial Guards are you? You look unfamiliar." Inside the gate, a person suspiciously asked, "You don't need to know who I am. According to the orders of the Imperial Guard, there will be an operation in Great Jiao tonight. The enemy is very strong. The Imperial Guard is afraid that the prison will be lost, so he specially sent me to assist in the defense." The person coldly sat on the horse and said, "Open the gate. The prison is an important place. Ordinary people are not allowed to enter. Even if you can answer the code, it will be the same." Commander Lee coldly said, "If you want to enter the prison, do you have the Imperial Guard's order or the minister's seal?" "I don't have the minister's seal, but I have the Imperial Guard's order." The person on the horse sneered. He took out a letter from his bosom and held it in his hand. "Throw it over." Commander Lee did not relax his vigilance. The person on the horse's eyes flashed coldly and said, "Catch." He grabbed the corner of the letter and threw it out. The thin letter fiercely spun, making a sharp whistling sound in the air. It flew over 50 feet and landed in front of the gate. The iron gate still did not open. With a shua sound, an iron claw connected to an iron chain hung down from the top of the wall. It hung down to the ground and suddenly closed. It caught the letter, and then slowly rose up. When the iron chain was halfway up, a silver light suddenly flashed. With a bang sound, the iron chain broke into 2 pieces. Then, 7 or 8 shadows flashed from all directions. In a flash, 5 people had already rushed to the top of the wall. The sound of crossbows and arrows echoed. The entire sky above the prison gate turned into an iron curtain made of crossbows and arrows. The sharpness of Ironclad's armors was unparalleled in the world. This sentence could be seen from the reactions of the soldiers guarding the prison. Caught off guard, hundreds of people drew their bows and released arrows at the same time. There was no panic. However, the 5 people had already rushed up. They started a massacre. On the other hand, the few people on the boat leaped down and flashed towards the 3 people on horseback like a wisp of smoke. The 3 people were not willing to be outdone. They rushed down from their horses and faced the 5 people head-on. In a moment, there was a big fight inside and outside. The sharp sound of the bugle horn rang out. All of Ironclad Citadel's prison was in an uproar. Countless soldiers gathered from all directions. The nearby barracks also sounded the bugle horn at the same time. A moment later, the sound of hooves thundered from 3 different directions, getting closer and closer. It was only when the 5 of them rushed up to the roof that they realized that a huge net had suddenly risen up from the ground. Steel blades were flashing brightly on the net, covering the entire ground. The prison on the left of Ironclad Citadel could only be entered from this courtyard. Then, there was a fork in the road. It was almost like an underground fortification. With this large net covering them, the 5 people in black did not seem to have any way to get in. Instead, they tried their best to avoid standing on the edge of the wall. They were afraid of being pushed down, so their hands and feet were tied. Archers on the walls from all directions appeared at the same time. They drew their bows and aimed. If there was a mistake, a deadly arrow would fly out like lightning. The situation was extremely unfavorable for these masked men in black. If things continued like this, not only would they not be able to break into the prison, they might even be trapped here. Chapter 160. However, Ironclad's side was at a disadvantage in the battle outside. 3 experts against 5, and their strength was far inferior. They were at a disadvantage almost immediately. With a bang, one of the Ironclad guards was struck in the chest. He spat out a mouthful of blood and rolled away like a rubber ball. One of the masked men in black chased after him with a sinister smile and kicked him. However, he did not kill him but was just playing with him. He screamed and cursed loudly, but he was kicked around like a rubber ball without any strength to fight back. When the people inside saw that the situation was stabilized, they heaved a sigh of relief. However, they were once again enraged by the cruel scene in front of them. The man in civilian clothes tried his best to resist the enemy's attacks as he screamed, "Commander Lee, you must not open the door. They are deliberately provoking you. As long as you open the door, you will give them a chance. Us brothers are not worthy of your pity, but this prison is an important place. You must not lose it." His voice was fierce and powerful. Coupled with the blood that was spurting out of his mouth and body, it made him look even more heroic. Inside the door, several soldiers were filled with anger as they watched the cruel fight outside. Their eyes were filled with tears. One of the burly men suddenly turned his head and punched the wall fiercely. He said in a muffled voice, "Good man." At this moment, the sound of hoofbeats came from 3 directions at the same time. Ironclad's army had finally arrived at this moment. Tight wind. Retreat. With a sharp cry, the 5 black-clothed men on top of the wall flew up at the same time. Arrows rained down on the 5 people. Another person appeared from the shadows. His body was covered in a brilliant sword light. He spun in the air and cut all the arrows. He shouted, "You guys leave quickly. I will cover you." The 5 men did not even look back. They jumped up and down a few times before their figures disappeared. The 5 people outside had already leaped up. One of them actually punched the puppet viciously before leaving, before kicking the body of the guard who was lying on the ground. The guard's body was sent flying high into the air before landing heavily on the ground. Fresh meat was being cooked. Then, these black-clothed men let out a long howl and left the scene like lightning. The Jun surrounded him. On the ground, there were only 3 bodies that looked like broken sacks. Quickly bring them in and see if they can be saved." Commander Lee's eyes were filled with tears as he shouted with all his might. A few soldiers quickly put down the bags and carried the 3 men carefully. They were already unconscious, but their blood was still dripping from their wounds. Finally, they reached the door. The metal door opened to allow 2 people to walk through side by side. The soldiers carrying the stretchers greeted them and walked in. Right at this moment, an unforeseen event occurred. The 3 people on the stretchers suddenly jumped up, and their hands were as fast as lightning. At the same time, their throats were cut, and they collapsed. One of them slammed his palm on the already open iron door. Bang! A loud explosion rang out, and the sound was so loud that it caused the nearby soldiers to bleed and their eyes to blur. The 3 of them had already rushed through the iron gate. Whenever he sees someone, he will shoot like a mad tiger. Quick! Let go of the iron gate. Commander Lee was filled with regret and hatred as he shouted. He did not expect the enemy to be so cunning, to use such a trick to gain his confidence. Too late. The brocade-robed man laughed out loud. He had already rushed out of the gate and into the courtyard. His right hand reached for his waist, and a strange-looking dagger appeared. He then leaped up, and with a ripping sound, he tore a huge hole in the iron gate. Following that, the other 2 men each pulled one side of the iron gate with all their might. The iron gate let out a deafening sound as it split open. The dew swords on the net then shot out, enveloping a large number of soldiers who were rushing over. A shrill cry rang out once more, and 15 figures descended from the sky like celestial beings, jumping into the courtyard through the hole in the iron gate. So, they had not left, and they were just playing hard to get. Furthermore, they had not mobilized their full strength earlier. Commander Lee's eyes widened in anger as he charged forward. However, he was kicked in the chest by one of the men in black, and he was sent flying with his dagger. After flying for a few feet, his burly body suddenly split into pieces in mid-air. "Laro-san, you lead your men here to block the entrance. Laro, and I will go in to take a look." One of the masked men in black robes shouted. "All right." One of the shorter masked men in black robes laughed out loud, blocking the entrance to the inner gates. The other masked men in black, each holding a dagger, separated from him in a winged formation. This was the narrowest place, and there was a bend. If there were arrows, they could easily dodge them. The ironclad guards charged forward crazily. As for the other 12 people, they split into 2 groups and rushed in. The leader of the group was the most ruthless. In a short time, he had already captured 4 to 5 guards. Each of them only asked one question: where are the most recent criminals being held? He asked a question, and if there is no reply, he will pinch the neck and grab the next one. It's in the mouth, turn left. It's an individual cell. Spare me. When he caught the 17th person, the last person trembled as he screamed. Very good. The masked man in black robes chopped off his head and said indifferently, in order to repay you, I'll give you a quick death. After saying that, he charged forward like a whirlwind. At the same time, he shouted, it's here. The people on the other side turned around with a swoosh. The 12 of them were like a sharp awl, piercing deep into the ground. The obstacles along the way were obviously a lot bigger. Moreover, the guards were obviously a few levels better than other places. Although the 12 of them were having a hard time, they were getting happier. It seemed like this was the place. Careful. Just as they were advancing at full speed, the person at the very front suddenly let out a strange cry and leaped back like lightning. It turned out that a large hole had suddenly appeared on the ground in front of him. It was at least 20 feet wide. If he charged forward, he would be able to charge through, but his comrades behind him would definitely fall in. That was why he did not charge forward, but instead, he retreated and used his body to block his comrades. The teamwork of the Golden Horse Riders department members was very good. Just as he was about to land on the ground, the walls on both sides suddenly split open, and 7 to 8 viscous black liquid poured out. Kerosene. Motherfucker. The leader of the command horse riders cursed everyone, quickly jump over. The 12 of them got up at the same time, and countless torches were thrown at them. With a loud bang, the flames behind them burned fiercely. The heat of the flames seemed to be roasting their backs. In front of them, overturned planks and holes kept appearing. Countless amounts of kerosene emerged from any possible place, forming a thick layer on the ground. The 12 of them could only try their best to jump forward, not daring to stop. Because their bodies were already covered in kerosene, if they were even a little bit slower, they would be burned. The command horse rider at the front used his palm to catch the kerosene that was falling from above, and charged forward without a care for anything else. Suddenly, the legs of the 3 people at the front went soft, and they fell down. This seemingly flat ground was actually a trap. The 3 of them were shocked. Under the illumination of the flames, they could clearly see a few footprints. How could there be a trap here? But the 3 of them did not have time to think, and they had already fallen. They had been leaping all the way. Although they were martial-revered level cultivators, they had already exhausted their last breath. It was the awkward moment where they had used up all their strength and had yet to recover their strength. They did not have time to leap up before they fell down. With a loud bang, the entire passageway was filled with yellow smoke. Inside the trap, there was a short scream. Motherfucker, there are so many Dick. I'm Dick. You too, step on me. Hurry up and go. It was obvious that one of them was injured, and he was in a lot of trouble. It was just a sentence, but he was already gasping for breath. Yellow smoke filled the air, and 2 figures flashed. 2 masked men in black rushed forward with tears in their eyes. That comrade of his had already fallen silent. What a good Dick. They had not even reached the first cell, and they had already lost a person. There's Dick in the smoke. There's bewitching soul yarrow and spring temptress yarrow. A black-clothed masked man screamed in horror. Despicable. King of Hell Chew, you're despicable. The remaining 11 masked men in black cursed at the same time. But if the penis is not injured, it is fine if the penis cannot enter the uterus. With everyone's skills, they can stop the penis from entering the uterus. They could have even fought and pulled the dick out at the same time. But the lust dick was not possible. In a split second, the 11 masked men in black tight-fitting clothes had already set up tall tents under their waists. Their faces were flushed red, and their eyes were filled with excitement. Lust dick. Everyone should have realized that the most lust dick in this world is not dick, but lust dick. This thing is too difficult to deal with. Now that we have lust dick, how are we going to deal with it? Our pants are as hard as iron, where are we going to release it? Our arteries are expanding, just a little more, and we will be able to save the first cell. The leader of the BMW horsemen tried his best to suppress the urge in his heart and the excitement in his body. He pushed forward with his bulging lower body, but his eyes couldn't help but look around the prison cells. Holy shit, why aren't there any female prisoners? The smoke was getting thicker and thicker. In just a short 100 feet, there was still space on both sides and the ground, but they had already encountered more than 10 trap. Every single one of them was unimaginable, and every single one of them was lust dick to the extreme. The two command horse riders could not help but curse at the dense number of trap. The people who had set up these traps were all masters of scoundrels, wretched expert. You despicable bastard who deserves to be chopped into pieces. How could there be such a trap? It was simply a combination of all the thoughts and ideas, plus 100,000 points of wretchedness and grumpiness. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.